play calling and getting in late. What if we took all of those and made it one game? How would that do? Let's have a party. You know what? Let's get together for Christmas. Let's bring all of our friends over for Christmas, and let's see what happens. And they got together, and they had a blast. And I think the Problems had a blast on Monday. Nobody else really did except Raiders fans, certainly. But we've talked a lot about that. K-State in action tonight. We talked about KU yesterday in their win in the bowl game and getting to 9 wins. K-State can get to 9 wins tonight as well. Boy, this is one of the intriguing bowls, and it's not just because it's locally. I mean, you can read nationally a lot of people looking at this and going, one of the more intriguing bowls. You got 2 well-coached teams, 2 teams that play physical football, and 2 teams that have been hurt by opt-outs and transfers. And I'm not sure what to make of this game tonight. I'm not sure what to make of what a loss or a win would mean for K-State. Like, there's a part of me, Josh, that looks at it and goes, tonight's kind of just watching what Avery Johnson looks like. And that's what I'll get out of the game. Let him throw the ball. What's the Avery Johnson to Garrett Oakley, maybe the new wide receiver tight end combination there in Manhattan? Like, part of me is like watching the game tonight and watching Avery Johnson, and everything else is sort of secondary and in third and fourth place, win or lose. I know for the other players, but I don't know if it's all myopic is what it should be, but that's my feel right now. You know, what would be 5 hours before the game, 5-6 hours before the game starts?
It's something that I mentioned on Sound Off this week with all 3 of the local bowl games. They all have compelling parts. I guess now had, because KU got theirs done. But it was the Jason Bean send-off and an exclamation point on the season. This case, it's the Avery Johnson coming out party, and we saw the glimpses and the little bursts and even talked about this year. Like, is this going to be his job this season? Well, now we get to see something that may be an indicator of where it goes from here. And then Missoula has something closer to like actual stakes, so I don't think you have to drum up much for that one. That one's pretty easy. But yeah, I think especially if you're not a K-State fan, if you're not planning on buying a t-shirt if you win the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which I might anyway, just because it's the Pop-Tarts Bowl, now that I've said that out loud, that might be the piece of K-State merch that gets me in good with the in-laws as K-Staters. I think I'd wear some purple Pop-Tart merch, but if you're not going to live and die on it like you would for a regular season game, you are going to get to take kind of the shorthand of Braden Gall's perhaps slightly cynical view of bowl games. You get the best possible like spring game experience that you're going to see from Avery Johnson. It's going to be on national television. We're all going to sit down and enjoy it. It's going to look and feel like a real college football game with all of the eyes pointing towards next year with Avery Johnson. I think it's a great hook for a fun bowl game matchup.
Yeah, the game is right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB 445. You can listen into the Pop-Tarts Bowl at 445, followed by the Alamo Bowl, Arizona and OU. On ESPN KC, we've got the Jets and Browns coming up Thursday Night Football there, but we got bowls coming your way here on Sports Radio 810. So an abbreviated version of the program today, 445 is when we tune in for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And I was shocked to see this, Josh. Did you know that the K-State NC State bowl game today is the first bowl game this year with 2 ranked teams?
Huh.
There has not been this is the first one today at 445 of 2 ranked teams playing against each other in a bowl game. Now, there are a lot of them following this game, but this is the first one, even though there's a bowl game going on right now, 11 o'clock on a Thursday.
Oh, hold on, I got to change my TVs. I got to make sure we got 11 o'clock bowl game action.
Or excuse me,
10 o'clock my time, yeah.
10 o'clock. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wait a minute, it started already. I thought it was 11. 11 Eastern, Jesus. I thought it has started right now. The Wasabi Fenway Bowl.
Oh, this is the Fenway one. Let's go.
You got to turn it on ESPN, man. I'm turning it on right now in this room that I'm at.
Can I give you my hottest take of bowl season?
Was it wasabi hot?
It might be wasabi hot. Is this for the food item, or is there another? I'm seeing now the emblazoning on this dude's, the embroidering on this dude's blazer here, and it looks like some sort of finance company. Not important.
It does.
Here's my wasabi hot take. I love bowl games played in baseball stadiums. I think that's a great gimmick. You leave the dirt on the ground. I want to see infield dirt. The NFL's never going to give that to us again. Oakland is out of the picture, doubly so now. I want to see the dirt on the ground.
I'll take it one step further. Leave the mound and the bases.
Yes!
Let's have some fun here. If you're going to play it in a baseball stadium, damn it, play it in a baseball stadium.
Leave the bases out. Yes. Great take.
And then you can, tackled at second base. You know, it's breaks free at the pitcher's mound.
Rounding third, the 20, the 10. Come on, like how good of a call would that be?
That would be amazing, absolutely amazing. SMU and Boston College in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, which most people know of Boston for their sushi and the wasabi that goes along. I don't know, is it wasabi and clam chowder? Is that a great mixture? Boston. Everybody knows the great line from Good Will Hunting, you know, do you like sashimi? Well, I got a number. Sashimi. What's a Wasabi Fenway Bowl? Anyway, there's a bowl game going on right now.
I'm going to figure out why. So it's wasabi.com, but it looks like some sort of financial thing, but wasabi's a thing.
Yeah, can you just name your company out of it's Banana Realtors? Always money in the
Wait, that's good actually. I think that's pretty
always
good.
Money in the banana stand.
It looks like they're like a digital cloud storage company. Object storage service provider based in Boston that sells one product. I'm reading the Wikipedia verbatim. An object storage service called Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. The company was they sell one product, an object storage service called Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. One product.
Is Wasabi copyrighted?
The company was initially called Blue Archive at its founding, but was later renamed to Wasabi Technologies, Inc. after hot Japanese horseradish. Thank you, Wikipedia.
I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, okay. So, Japanese horseradish, a plant of the family Brassicaceae. Yeah. Horseradish and mustard.
I don't know if I've
native to Japan.
Yeah, I'm seeing the picture here now.
Russian Far East.
Wait, really?
As well as the Korean Peninsula.
Huh.
Grows naturally along stream beds in mountain river valleys in Japan. So there you go. There's your history lesson on wasabi and also the company that is apparently named Wasabi. Fenway Bowl. I honestly thought, we've got a Pop-Tarts Bowl today.
Yes.
Okay, we got a Tony the Tiger Bowl today. Shocker that at the Wasabi Bowl, I thought it was the condiment that goes along with sushi.
I'll do even better. How about the avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl?
Thank you.
That
Absolutely.
happens.
The Duke's Mayo Bowl was what, last night or the night before?
It was last night, yeah. But the avocados from Mexico entire advertising plan, and you hear the little jingle in your head. And I think it started with Super Bowl ads for them. That might have been when they really started that ad campaign, or maybe it's just when it caught me. But they're just, to my knowledge, I'm sure there's one company that is benefiting the most from this, just from some sort of monopoly or whatever. But they are theoretically advertising avocados from Mexico. It's not Jimmy's guacamole. It's avocados from the country of Mexico. It's very weird. I don't get it.
At the Super Bowl, at one particular year, I can't remember when it was, but at the Super Bowl, God, I can't remember what athlete it was either. Shoot. I don't know. But it was 49ers old safety back Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott, okay.
Ronnie Lott. I think it was Ronnie Lott that was going around the Super Bowl radio row, and they're always sponsored by some company that they want to, let people know about. And he was talking about Haas avocados. And he didn't know anything about it. And there's old audio that gets played from time to time of him saying Haas makes the best avocados. They just make them. They make the best avocados. If you're going to make avocados, go to Haas to get the best avocados over there.
The internet is amazing because what I've currently found here is the 2005-2006 annual report for the Haas Avocado Board. I don't know why I'm allowed to have access to this, but I just found it very easily. I don't think I'm hacking anything. But if you look for Ronnie Lott, he comes up here as through strategic media outreach and with NFL Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott serving as HAB's spokesperson, coverage resulted in more than 175 million media impressions. Hey, Haas Avocados, add another media impression almost 20 years later from this show right here.
That's what you get with Ronnie Lott is when he goes on a station and says some things that are funny, people keep bringing it back up with Haas avocados. Anyway, the Pop-Tarts Bowl is today at 4:45 right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The first bowl matchup of ranked teams with K-State and NC State. And last night, like sort of to draw into what we may be watching later on today. Last night to me is one of those perfect descriptions and encapsulates what Braden and I were talking about, and that was these bowl games. And he's like, look, Braden, he's like, I never bet on bowl games. Not going to touch them because it's about motivation. But then you also don't necessarily know, like, even though it might be motivation, like, okay, well, this team might surprise you. Last night Oklahoma State wins. They covered the 4 points. Texas A&M had 10 people. Texas A&M used the 12th man last night. So I mean, they had 50 scholarship players or something. But that's not even the game I'm talking about. Louisville was favored at one point by 7. The line went off at 4.5, and Louisville had a lot of guys playing their final game, right? A lot of guys graduating. They had wanting to end the season on a positive note. They lost back-to-back games. They're playing a USC team that everybody left, opting out and transferring. USC just decimated by transfers and opt-outs. And who's even going to play for USC in this game? And they've got Miller Moss. Like, okay, Miller Moss. Cool. Never heard of him. It's not Caleb Williams, though. And they go out there, and the team that's playing with backups, and let's just see if we give them the old college try versus the uber-motivated Louisville team. And USC leads by 2 touchdowns almost the entire game and easily covers the 4.5, wins by 14. And Miller Moss has, 600 yards. Or no, he's got 6 touchdowns. But it was like, what did he end up with? I wrote it down.
I had it up here, and then I was Googling to see if Jack Plummer was related to Jake Plummer.
370 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 interception for Miller Moss. In a game that USC was supposed to just be like, oh, we're going to go through the motions. Let's just see what we have in some of these players. And they went out there, and they were the more dominant team. And last night's game, I'm watching, and I'm going, this is why I don't mess. I would have put money on Louisville minus the points. I would have put money on the motivation, the building into it. Jeff Braun's first year inning on this in the bowl game, San Diego, blah, blah. And then USC just goes out there and is the better team. And Miller Moss, then I look him up. I'm like, oh, he was the number 110 player in the country. He was one of the top quarterback recruits in the bleeping country. And it's like they got some Miller Moss guy who's going to be playing for Caleb Williams. Okay, good luck. And he goes out there and throws for almost 406 touchdowns and is all over the place and throwing dimes. And then I read the recruiting profile, and it's like, NFL comparison. If he were to reach his max ability at the NFL, he could be Drew Brees. Like, okay, that's the guy filling in for Caleb Williams as the backup, right? And so, like, I look at that, I'm like, I don't know what to think of these things. Like, K-State has a number of people opt out and transfer, like Will Howard's transferring. By the way, Will Howard transferring to USC. Miller Moss, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Interesting.
Other than that, but Ben Sennett is out, Phillip Brooks is out, Kobe Savage, Malak, Trayshawn Ward. Gosh, Will Lee, I mean, one of the better cornerbacks, and Colin Klein is at Texas A&M. So they've got a number of players on defense, playmakers on offense, and their offensive coordinator is not there. And they're bringing on a new, quarterback in Avery Johnson. And Connor Riley, the offensive line coach, gets an audition to be the full-time offensive coordinator. And he's been with Chris Kleiman forever, so he may be just elevated at that spot. We'll see tonight. But, NC State's lost a number of guys. But the only, real significant one is, and it's a significant one, maybe the best linebacker in the country, and Peyton Wilson, who's opted out for the NFL. But K-State's lost more significant players. And Dave Doran has talked this week about a few years ago, there are players on his team right now that could have opted out, but they didn't get to play in the bowl game in 2020 when it was canceled the night before because UCLA had a COVID outbreak in 2020. And NC State's in, L.A. and getting ready for the game. And the night before they play, they find out you're not playing. And he's like, there are players on this team that went through that. They want to play, and they're ready to go in this game. It's not like K-State isn't. But you've got, so many storylines on each side. I have no idea what to make of tonight's matchup. I won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I'll just sit back and enjoy it because I want to see what Avery Johnson looks like. Like, that's the main thing. I'd love to see what Avery Johnson looked like with Phillip Brooks and throwing to Ben Sinnott, and even, with Trayshawn Ward there. But Avery Johnson and Giddens, you could see the start of something special in a backfield that, can run the ball down your throat in more dynamic ways. The old K-State way of being able to do that. With a phenomenal running back and a quarterback that's going to scare you too with his legs. But what can he do passing the football? I'm not sure. But they've got new guys stepping in. I think, it was Kleiman talking about Trey Spivey and another wide receiver, Seth Porter, I think it was. They're like, no, we got some guys stepping in. This is an audition. This is a time for these guys to step in and see what they look like. This bowl game is a different feel. This bowl game tonight for K-State, to me, is almost the first game of next year, not necessarily capping off this year, which, by the way, is what Louisville was supposed to be last night, and USC was the first game of next year. And the far superior team and the better team and maybe the team that wanted it more, air quotes, was the team that lost tons and tons of players, not the team trying to rally and finish their season strong as the last game of this year. And I think K-State's playing the first game of next year. But based on last night, I ain't doubting that they go out there and win and look like the better team, but it's a really good NC State team and a well-coached team. So this one, if there was a 14-point win for either side, it wouldn't surprise me. If there was a 1-point win, either side, it wouldn't surprise me. There aren't many results of tonight's game that would surprise me, which makes it fascinating just to sit back and watch.
Yeah. To bring it full circle, I think it was Mike Ryan from the Le Batard Show who tweeted out an idea that I think is really interesting that I'm not sure I would completely end up siding with, but I think it's very fun. He's like, hey, you know what you ought to do? Play the bowl games to kick off the next season. You say, well, hold on, these teams are going to be fundamentally different from, the team that obviously not the playoff games, but in the post-expanded playoff world. Play these bowl games to kick off the next season. You go ahead and make it a game that actually counts. And yes, the teams will be very different than they were at the end of the previous season, but they already are, as you just broke down. So again, I don't know that has to be where they go. I think it's at least an interesting idea. But in terms of what direction you're looking in a bowl game like this, I think you have some examples, again, like to go back to KU, some examples where it can be a celebration of the team that you had that does look relatively similar to the team you just won with, or in the case of Kansas State, absolutely use this to help calibrate your expectations for next year. And then also it can be a bit of a celebratory event, and again, an actual game with two top 25 teams, to cap off this year, the last time you're going to get to see your team in your colors out on the field for a very long time, until we are literally talking about spring games. But even then, a lot longer for games that even sort of count. But I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, and it was an interesting idea from Mike Ryan that I kind of like on a few levels. I'm not sure if I'm ready to fully embrace it, but it's interesting.
It's thinking outside the box.
It is.
It's not necessarily just how do you change these things? Make it mandatory, or whatever different things you can come up with. But yeah, we've got three different ways of these three local teams in these bowl matchups. We talked about the KU part of it. We just talked about the K-State, and tomorrow it's a Missouri with a, quote, all hands on deck.
Right.
They are trying to cap off what could be one of the best seasons in Missouri history, and winning, 10 games and winning the Cotton Bowl and beating Ohio State, and so many guys playing in this game. Very few, transfers or even opt-outs or anything that you're seeing all of it, whereas Ohio State has a number of those guys. One of the best players in the country is not playing tomorrow night in Marvin Harrison Jr. The quarterback, they will not be with their Accord and their Maserati tomorrow night. Neither car will be out there for Ohio State on offense against Missouri. But that's kind of what USC was facing, And I'm not saying that, Missouri is Louisville, but those storylines going into it aren't just going to dictate the whole thing, even though it feels like it's somewhat, hey, it's kind of easy maybe to handicap this thing. So we've got three different teams in different bowls sort of having a different perspective on that particular bowl. If KU would have lost to UNLV, it would have been disappointing, right? It wouldn't have, but it was still an 8-win season, and showing real serious progress. And if K-State loses tonight, I don't know that anybody comes away with that going, oh man, terrible, just awful. awful feeling, of how to end the season. Because if Avery Johnson throws for 250 and rushes for 200 and has 4 touchdowns and they lose 35-28, is anybody going to wake up tomorrow going, oh, my God, I can't believe they lost that game? They're going to go, oh, my God, I've got a countdown now to when K-State opens up the season next year to see Avery Johnson and Giddens in the backfield. And that's going to be the result. Whereas tomorrow night with Mizzou, if they lose, it's going to be a real sense of disappointment. It's going to be a real sense of a buildup and an opportunity and a chance for Missouri to take on Ohio State and win that game in the Cotton Bowl. And, the talk that's been going on over the last month or so and the way that it's being presented by Eli Drinkwitz, like they have put a lot of eggs into this basket. Missouri fans pumped, excited to go there, that if they go and lay an egg tomorrow night, then, yeah, that would be a real disappointment because it isn't this is the first game of next year. Well, they got a lot of guys that are returning. It's kind of both. It's the last game of this year. It could be a little bit of the first game of next year, but they don't have Cody Schrader next year. They don't have some other players. So, I think if any of the 3 teams were to lose, I think the most disappointing would be Mizzou. Not that it would be the biggest upset, if you follow me. It would be the most disappointing in terms of like the expectation and the buildup to it. Where I don't know that. Like, honestly, I don't know that if a K-State fan out there, that if K-State loses to NC State, that it would be a disappointing night, depending on what Avery Johnson looks like.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you know what never disappoints? And who never disappoints? Shane Summers. Because guess what he just walked in here and threw at me and also threw it at Dylan?
Pop-Tarts.
We're doing Pop-Tarts out of the station. It was a strawberry one. I got the brown sugar box here.
Shane.
While you were talking.
Shane.
While you were talking. He's gone. He's not. Shane.
Shane, it's a K-State game in the Pop-Tart Bowl. How do you have strawberry? NC State's red.
Well, you got
to go blueberry with the purple.
He brought at least 2. Can I tell you real quickly what my now father-in-law did on Christmas Eve?
Oh, I'd love to know.
The DeVaults, Renee's side, they're all K-Staters. She kind of broke the cycle by going to MNU, where she met me, so it was really lose-lose for her. But the rest of her family,
tough break for the family.
Tough break. They're reeling for multiple reasons, but they're all K-Staters. And so at one point, Renee's dad on Christmas Eve when we were over there came down with a bunch of gift bags and said, "All right, I got something for us all to do here." And we were all like, okay, this was not like a tradition or something. This was new, and I could tell that it was new based off of now my mother-in-law's reaction of genuine confusion. She really didn't know what the plan was here. He really went rogue. So he comes down and basically just lays out white elephant rules, and then I think Renee's brother Ryan, I think he opened the first one, and he pulls out a box of Pop-Tarts. And then we begin, somebody said, it may have been him again, what if they're just all Pop-Tarts? And then so we went, and each person picks a bag, opens a box of Pop-Tarts of a different flavor, and then we proceed, celebrating the Pop-Tarts Bowl, we proceed to steal Pop-Tarts, open more Pop-Tarts, steal the Pop-Tarts back again. Renee's grandma almost took my Eggo collaborative Pop-Tarts. Eggo Pop-Tarts, folks. I didn't know these existed. She almost took them with her. I was about to throw myself in front of the door. That was not going to happen. I stole those Eggo Pop-Tarts fair and square.
Out of my cold, dead hands.
That's exactly what I said.
Out of my cold, dead hands, Grandma.
Out of my cold, dead hands Nana. Into my warm toaster. It's where these Pop-Tarts are going.
Meemaw.
It was tense for a little bit. It was tense, but I think we all ended up with the Pop-Tarts we truly wanted. And I thought my first Pop-Tart today would be that I would enjoy one of the Eggo ones while watching the game. But, I mean, Shane brought them, so I'm going to go ahead and start crunching some of this insulin and hope that I can get through one of these Pop-Tarts safely. They're pretty good, man.
Yeah.
They're pretty. I forget.
Yeah, but you can't.
I'm sorry,
good. You can't go strawberry. You can't go strawberry on a day where they're playing a team that wears a shade of red. You got to go blueberry and purple.
That's fair. I do like the blueberry ones a lot too. Man, Pop-Tarts are good. Why have they been hiding these from us in our entire adulthoods?
Not sure. By the way, as we take a break, I remember this now. Seren texted me. So Ronnie Lott ended up coming on the station with Seren the day before. They had told Seren, yeah, we're not going to have Ronnie. We're only putting Ronnie Lott on major markets. And Seren said that on the air. And the 810 listeners, God bless you, just went and flooded Haas Avocado with emails and calls and everything to the point that they came back the next day and was like, hey, we're going to put Ronnie Lott on your station.
That's
That's
fantastic.
the power of Sports Radio 810. The power of Sports Radio 810 gets Haas Avocado to act, damn it.
We will
When
bend
we
the
say
avocado
jump-
lobby to our will.
When we say guac, you say how much. Damn it. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I don't know. Sometimes, tomatoes can be an X factor of guac. The X factor of the Kansas City, this is a terrible segue, but the X factor of the Kansas City Chiefs for a while was on the Good Morning Football. We'll hear from him about his thoughts on how the Chiefs can fix things coming up next. All right, we'll talk with Craig Stout about some Chiefs football coming up at 11 o'clock. Right now, the Wasabi Bowl going on ESPN. If you want to run to turn that one on, SMU Boston College. It's like 40 degrees and raining, which sounds miserable to be there. I'd rather it be 30 degrees and snowing
100%.
than sitting in 40 degrees and rain. Ugh, no thank you. Give me 30 and snow. But one of the funniest things that I've never seen this before in a game just happened, Josh. And I just started cracking up, and I'm like, oh, my God, I want to break into the commercial break right now to tell the story of what I just watched.
I missed it. I was out of the studio.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. I'll tell you right now.
I can't wait.
I'll try to give you the visual. So SMU runs the no huddle, right? Rasheed Rice has talked about that, where they don't huddle up. He just runs back to the line of scrimmage where he's supposed to line up, etc. So they've got the ball. They're running the no huddle. They throw a short pass. Receiver goes down to the ground to grab it. He catches it. He gets up, tosses it to the official, and then runs back to his spot because they're going fast. Now they're running tempo. He goes back to his spot. The line judge has walked out to a little past the numbers, right, to mark it, just to put his foot down as to, hey, here's where the ball is. As he's then walking back to the sideline, he crosses in front of the receiver that just caught it. The receiver reaches out, wipes his glove off on the sleeve of the official, takes both his hands and runs them down the sleeve of the official, and then brings his hand together to, as you're, wiping your hands or trying to warm them up in the cold, but trying to dry off his gloves. And the official gives him a look like, what in the bleep did you just do? I have never seen that before. He just reached out and wiped his hands off on the official shirt.
That's awesome. I think we should make this more of an acceptable thing to do, and refs should wear ShamWows as their jersey. Just stitch it for them.
I have never seen that before. He literally put his hands on an official.
Yeah, both of them.
He put his hands on an official, grabbed him. It looked that could be assault. I don't know. But the official just looked at him like, "Are you crazy? What did you? Did you just wipe your gloves off on my?" Also, I'm standing in the rain. Did he think his shirt was going to be dry? He's standing out there in the rain as well.
That is partially the most confusing thing to me. If you're going to try to dry your gloves off, you've got an entire uniform that you are wearing that you could try to do that. It's not like the refs have been under an umbrella the whole time. I don't know. I'm very confused.
I've never seen that before. The ref is walking back, and he just grabs his arms and takes them down the arm. It's unbelievable. Dante Hall was on Good Morning Football. And, there's a lot of talk about the Chiefs and what's wrong with them going on locally and across the country. And Dante Hall, being a guest on Good Morning Football, of course, they talk some Chiefs with him. Here's Dante Hall. It's about a 1.5-minute clip. We've seen some quotes going around about this, but Dante Hall weighing in on how to fix the Chiefs' offense.
I think it starts at the top with Matt Nagy. I don't really know the guy, so this is all speculation. But what I do know is this. When Eric Bieniemy was there, we didn't have this lack of discipline. We didn't have guys not lining up. We didn't have guys dropping a league-leading 25 passes. We had none of this. So is it Nagy? Is it Bieniemy? I don't know. But I would like to start there. Starts at the top, right? You're the offensive coordinator. You, besides Juju Smith leaving, are the only change in this Super Bowl winning offense. So it must be you. Get these guys in order. Secondly, Patrick Mahomes, I love you. You're my favorite quarterback. But I think you need to fall in love with the mundane. Yes, for 5 years we have been used to the big plays of Tyreek, to Kelsey, and all of that. It's time to be check down Tom Brady. Fall in love with the swing route, the check downs. These plays have been there for the taking, and that's pretty much what we need to get back to, right? Check down. When it's there, take it. Don't look for the big play. Just get a rhythm. If it's a 5-yard check down, throw it to him. And then the last thing, I'll end on this. Body language is everything. When you are screaming and yelling at your players, that permeates negatively. When you have what you have had in the first 5 years, that poker face, we know we're going to win this in the end, that permeates positively. Get back to being positive and not so, on the sideline with your guys.
All right, so there's Dante Hall weighing in on the coaching staff and then also Mahomes as well. I don't disagree with the Matt Nagy commentary that, if you're talking about coaching and being unorganized as an offense and things getting in late, when Patrick Mahomes comes off the field in the last drive before the half and says, call the bleeping plays, because they're breaking the huddle with like 10 seconds left, and he's getting up there and feeling rushed, and it kind of felt like that throughout most of the game. But, I don't know how quickly the play calls were getting in the second half, et cetera. So when there are those issues and the quote-unquote details that everybody's talked about, yeah, I certainly understand where he's coming from with Matt Nagy, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I think the become check down Tom Brady is just simply not watching the games. Like, that's what the Chiefs are already. Like, that Raiders game was all checkdowns. Like, that's what it was. I said the stat multiple times, and I'll say it again. Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, 10 or more yards past the line of scrimmage 5 times. He threw at or behind the line of scrimmage 15 times. That's check down Charlie. That's 2016 Alex Smith. That's what this offense looked like against the Raiders at times. They couldn't run the football. They weren't doing anything deep. The Raiders were bringing guys up into the box, daring them to throw deep. They still weren't doing it. Like, they've become a check down team. They don't have those big plays. They don't have those explosive plays that they have of years past and even, last year. And to me, like, it can be Nagy. I think saying the fix is just checking the ball down is thinking from 2021. The 2021 thinking when it was like, everybody's figured out the Chiefs offense. They can't throw deep now. Mahomes has to just take what's there. He's figured that out, and they won a Super Bowl doing that.
Yep. I will say the mandatory thing here, which is that I love Dante Hall. I've always loved Dante Hall.
I forgot to preface it with I loved. Damn
it's okay. He prefaced
now
his with I love Patrick Mahomes, and so I'll say we all love Dante Hall. You're completely right about that, so I'm just gonna let you have that one because I have nothing else to add. That that's just old, just sort of stale analysis. It's also very funny. Matt Nagy deserves criticisms and questionings left and right here, but it's very funny to say the problems start at the top with Matt Nagy. The guy at the top of the Chiefs' offense. It's like, well, like he is a change from last year. And it is him instead of Eric Bieniemy. The other thing, I go 3 deep on this one, and me kind of going like, I don't know, man. I think there's something to like, hey, Mahomes suddenly going from like this confident, we're gonna make a comeback body language to this like, come on, wake the bleep up kind of body language is a little jarring and not great, but it is kind of funny to say this team misses Eric Bieniemy and also Patrick Mahomes is yelling too much now. It's like, well, hold on. Like 3 weeks ago, we were saying like, when's Mahomes going to throw somebody under the bus? And then we see him on the sidelines telling his offensive line to play better football because he's dying back there. And it's like, I don't know, man. It seems toxic over there now. It's just, I think it all kind of goes back to there aren't any easy, great answers for this team, and so you kind of grasp at straws, and that's kind of what I hear Dante doing there, is trying some analysis from a year or two ago, trying the offensive coordinator thing, which there's some truth to, but it's certainly not at the top, and even the body language stuff. Yeah, the vibes are way, way worse, but also we've talked about how this team does need a little bit of volume on the sidelines sometimes too.
There's a little Mark Mangino in the commentary here of when KU was winning games and they went to the Orange Bowl and Mangino was screaming and yelling. He was a disciplinarian, got those guys in line. Yep. And look what happened. They're a disciplined team. They went out and played. Then they're losing, and he became a bully because of the way he was coaching. Yep. It's shaded by if you're winning or not. If the Chiefs are 11-1 and goes over there and Patrick Mahomes is doing that, and the Chiefs come out and play good football. Like, that's a leader, man. Leader. Getting out of his guys. Yeah, fiery. Challenging them. He's a competitive prick. He doesn't like losing. That's just a competitor right there. Tom Brady had the same thing. Tom Brady would scream and yell. Tom Brady would yell at his teammates all the time. All the time. Receivers, offensive line, referees. He had no problem. He hated losing. He wasn't okay with losing. He wasn't like Buddy Bell, a guy who was just obsessed with losing. It wasn't that. Like, he hates it. It's shaded by whatever's going on with the team in what they look like. They're struggling, so therefore they're falling apart at the seams. Right. Kelsey's had outbursts before when they've been winning. He's had – it hasn't been sort of what feels like it's been this consistent since it felt like he's matured over the years when he was getting the penalties and the talking tos from Andy Reid, quite frequently. That's not happening as much over the previous, 4 or 5 years, but certainly it's going on this year. And it's, evidenced in how it affects the actual, like the Travis Kelce throwing in the football had more of an actual real-time impact on the team than than Patrick Mahomes, challenging his offensive line to play better. Because Travis Kelce throws his helmet, not knowing that the fake punt is coming. The fake punt happens. Chiefs offense runs back out there on the field. Andy Reid keeps the equipment guy from giving Travis Kelce his helmet, who wanted to run back out there with the offense. Blake Bell doesn't realize that Travis Kelce ain't in the game. The play call has been called. You got the formation and the play call thinking Travis Kelce was out there on the field. All of a sudden, Blake Bell has to run out there late. Blake Bell runs out there late. Play clock ticking down. Doesn't get set. Snap comes in. Mahomes scrambles for 6 yards. It's a hold on the defense, but also an illegal shift, illegal motion. Not all 11 men were set because Blake Bell never got set. That's a direct impact from Travis Kelce throwing his helmet and doing that on the sideline. And then Andy Reid saying, no, you're not going back in the game. Because then it was all disorganized and Blake Bell's running on the field. Well, that's a 5 with the Mahomes scramble and the defensive holding, and they would have had 1st and 10 at the Raiders' 30-yard line at the 2-minute warning and a timeout. Instead, they're back at the 41 with the 1st and 10 with offsetting penalties because of that. Like, that's a significant impact, but we're focusing on, well, Patrick Mahomes is challenging his teammates, and he's in their face and, telling them they need to play better. And the offensive line is shaking their head along with him. Like, yeah, I know. Let's go. Like, one had a direct impact on the game in a negative light. The other one, Patrick Mahomes said the offensive line met the challenge. I don't know that that's true. Maybe they did, and Patrick Mahomes is looking at it and going, man, they did what they needed to do. I just didn't do what I needed to do. He said that yesterday, but, that's part of the disorganization that's there. Would Eric Bieniemy have known immediately that Kelce wasn't on the field and was calling something different? I don't know. But that whole commotion on the sideline cost them at least 5 yards and a fresh set of downs and further down the field as opposed to offsetting penalties. So,
yeah.
We'll see.
I think we're all over it, and I think that it was a little bit disappointing for that to be sort of the path of Dante Hall's analysis there.
Yeah, but it's a great point, though. Let's start at the top with Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
They miss Eric Bieniemy's fiery emotions. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes needs to be more positive on the sideline. Those are really good points. Yeah. But I do want to make sure we know, I love Dante Hall.
Oh, I love Dante Hall. X Factor.
I want to hear what X Factor has to say.
Love Dante.
No. The other one. The one that got let's Good Morning Football. Have X Factor on the show.
I'll watch. We'll cut some audio from it, I promise.
I think he's still in the IR. Last I saw him on the news, he was pretty beat up.
Yeah, he's been pretty injured. But you know what? Luckily, all they're missing is Juju Smith-Schuster, who would definitely be playing for the Chiefs every game. By the way, the Patriots are also missing Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
He's already missed 4 games. He's injured. He's still not practicing again this week with the Patriots. I mean, he missed 2 other games this year. He was limited in his reps because of nursing different injuries. Like, this thought about, well, if they had Juju, if they had healthy Juju, but he ain't healthy Juju in New England either. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up this first hour, we'll talk with Craig Stout, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. We'll hear from the Chiefs Coordinator Day. The man at the top, Matt Nagy, Steve Spagnuolo, and Dave Toe. We'll hear from them today, and whoever else may be at the podium. We'll also play some Sports or Leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. We'll do that today as well in the 1 o'clock hour. Don't forget, 4:45 today is when Sports Radio 810 brings you the Pop-Tarts Bowl, K-State and NC State, followed by the Alamo Bowl, Arizona and Oklahoma. And over on ESPN KC, we've got Thursday Night Football for you, Jets and Browns. The surging Browns with Joe Flacco, 3 straight 300-yard games. Joe Flacco. When you speak of his name, you speak kindly. That's an elite Joe Flacco. Is Joe Flacco elite? We'll ask Craig Stout that next.
The Zone is presented by Guarantee Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels, heading up until 2 o'clock. Chiefs coming up later on this hour, and then we will play some Sports or Leisure coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. The Wasabi Bowl, Wasabi Fenway Bowl going on right now, played at Fenway Park, surprisingly. that's where they're at. The funny little quirk from this game, and we bring in Craig Stout, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. The funny quirk from this game, besides playing in a baseball stadium, is that both teams are on the same sideline. So when guys are running onto the field and they're subbing in and out, Craig, they're subbing in and out from like the 20-yard line. So if you're on, the opposition's 20-yard line, depending on which way you're going, but you get the point. If you're on the 20-yard line right there, you can just run in. But like Boston College is at their own 24-yard line, and they're on the other side of the field. So guys are subbing from the other 20-yard line, and there are coaches and players at the goal line. So like guys are getting ready to score, and the team's going crazy. They're at the goal line. It's like it's weird. You better be on your stuff, on your game, if you're going to be making substitutions in a game like this. If you're on the other side of the field.
See, this just reminds me of watching soccer, Jason. So, everybody's, sharing one sideline in a soccer game there. I would love nothing more than every time that somebody subs out of this football game in Fenway Park, if they had to come to midfield and they held up the board and signaled a substitution. Let's just bring the full chaos to this game and just really embrace the fact that this is weird as hell that both teams are on the same sideline in this game.
Yeah, they, like basketball or soccer, you come into the middle and then you have to be allowed into the game. There's a big horn that blows, and this guy's substituting, subbing in, but you got to wait till the free throw's over, depending on if it's 2 shots or a 1-and-1.
Hey, but the play clock is still running, though, so we really
it is
some extra chaos in the equation here. Yeah,
that's right. You're working 3 plays in advance of guys and substitutions and personnel that you're running. All right, you guys get ready to go in. You're going to go in for him. We got this play coming up. Coach is 4th and 1. We're still running the shotgun long developing play. We've already got it called. Okay, you should have picked up the first down on the previous play then. Okay. Craig Stout is our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. We didn't have you on to talk SMU Boston College, although it might be more enjoyable than talking about whatever that was on Monday with the Chiefs and Raiders. This is going to be just a general, open-ended, broad question, but what are you seeing with this offense? And was it something? Was there something in the game on Monday that maybe was different from what we have seen this year, in your mind?
I think we're just seeing the most basic of concepts that the Chiefs can run at this point. We talked about it a little bit on the lab on Tuesday night. When Andy Reid encounters any kind of, resistance or things aren't going particularly well, he goes back to his roots. And those roots are West Coast offense, kind of condense everything down, don't take chances, don't do some of the, extra stuff. I know that I'm saying this on a game where they had a fumble off of a trick play there. Andy's still going to do his trick plays and stuff, but the general focus of the offense is going to be short, quick passes, maybe a little bit of run game, try and get things going just with the basics, just get really back to basics. And they've done that now essentially for the past 4 weeks. And unlike in 2021 when they did this, when they had Tyreek Hill and you're throwing a bubble screen to Tyreek Hill and that man can take the ball, 70 yards to the house, you've got guys that are out there that maybe aren't blocking as well, that aren't executing as well, that aren't lining up some of the basic stuff, having to be told where they need to be. Play calls are not coming in. It's not as crisp as we expect when Andy does go back to his roots. And that makes it a lot easier for the defense to kind of tee off on it because when that stuff's not working, he reverts even further. Chase Daniel talked about on the breakdown, a couple weeks ago, that these are early install, offensive plays here, that these are training camp things that they're running right now. So we're seeing defenses pick up on tendencies. We're seeing them able to kind of trigger downhill on basically everything because there's no vertical passing game. And what you get as a result is a very basic offense that is not executed very well and it's easy for defenses to pick up on. And if that sounds like something that you shouldn't see at the NFL level and, of course, looks really badly on the field, well, then I'm describing what happened on Monday. Now, Andy Reid and company will get it figured out. I do fully believe that there is more to this offense right now, but it definitely feels like Andy is going a lot more conservative. Again, this is a regular season. Andy Reid would love to win every single game if he could, show nothing, 21-10. And they have the defense to do that, so he's trying to lean on that a little bit more, but they're making mistakes, and that is really dooming them when you got an offense that is this limited in that way.
Is it more concerning, or does it just maybe further emphasize how much of a bad game, sort of off game it was for the Chiefs on Monday? Is it more concerning that when you're talking about some of the early training camp concepts and plays and things like that, that there were so many times in the game to where guys were switching the side of the field? Mahomes is telling guys where to line up. He had to take a timeout because, gosh, was that the 4th and 5 play that they took a timeout because Richie James and Isaiah Pacheco were talking about who's lining up where? And they took a timeout on 4th and 5. There was another play at some point in the first half where Isaiah Pacheco was sort of adjusting his helmet and still putting his mouthpiece in when the snap went, and then he looked over and was like, "Oh, we're already snapping the ball," because everything got in late. Multiple times where Mahomes had to break the huddle. Guys are set, and then he looks over to somebody and say, "Go to the other side," and then they run over to the other side, and now he sits and looks at the defense. Like, is it more concerning that that's happening in a game when it's sort of early training camp, early installs in week 16, or is that indicative of, okay, everything was going wrong, that they just didn't have it, didn't bring it, because those aren't typically things that you're going to see as often when you're running some of these concepts that everybody new to the offense or not should know where to be?
Yeah, I think that's the part that is the most concerning. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, Rashee Rice is a rookie coming from a very air raid offense. You're trying to get him in a timing-based West Coast principles or something like that. If everything's not exactly on time with him, it's one of those things that you look at and you're like, okay, I understand some of that. MVS is lining up correctly, but a lot of these other guys aren't. Like Richie James being told where to line up. Kadarius Toney in previous week being told where to line up. Isaiah Pacheco, who's been in this offense, been through a couple of training camps, struggling to line up some of that. So, yeah, that's really concerning. This is week 16. This is basic stuff. This is stuff that they should know like the back of their hand. This is stuff that they've been running, throughout their careers in Kansas City. Andy Reid builds the foundation of the offense off of some of these principles. So the fact that those principles aren't being executed appropriately is definitely concerning. Now, that being said, there is something to be said for, the reports that came out after it was after the Eagles game. Yeah, so it wasn't right after the bye week. It was after the Eagles game that they were going to kind of dumb it down a little bit, for lack of a better term, allow these guys to play faster, play more comfortable, and things like that. And I think since then you've seen that the offense went from just the normal West Coast principles to even further rolling it even further back into some of the really, really basic stuff so that everybody was on the same page, can build confidence. Yeah, this is not new for Andy. He does this. This is stuff that he does, and the offense rebounds. We're just not seeing it this year. Now, it doesn't help that on Monday they played their worst offensive game of the season. Patrick Mahomes was not particularly good unless he was scrambling, essentially. There were guys that just weren't on the same page. The execution was poor. The turnovers were just absolutely backbreaking. So were the penalties. The offensive line did not play well. About everything went wrong that could have on the offensive side of the ball. So there's something to be said there, that if they just execute a little bit better some of these basic principles, that game is a game that goes in the Chiefs' favor. But that's the problem. They have to play perfectly. They have to play such flawless football on the offensive side of the ball. When you reduce it down to some of those concepts, when you reduce it down to things that defenses can identify easily and trigger on a little more easily than what we're used to seeing from an Andy Reid offense, then all of a sudden when you have penalties, you have turnovers, those things become holes that are just really hard to dig out of for this offense, and it's putting even more on the defense now to be absolutely perfect each and every drive, which they almost were on Monday, and the reason why they were even in that game.
Craig Stott is our guest, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. And, we talk about the different issues that have been there with the offense and then what showed up on Monday. And, I felt like it was the culmination of individual game issues that the Chiefs have had this year that all came together in one game. Offensive line issues from time to time with the tackles, and they were bad there. Some disorganization. Okay, that happened in the game. Mahomes, happy feet and not trusting guys. Okay, that happened in the game. Drop passes. Kelsey, Noah Gray dropped a touchdown. That happened in the game. Guy's not in the right spot. Well, was that a miscommunication with MVS when he throws it and MVS is open and it comes to his inside shoulder? He's running out. The read with Patrick Mahomes and throwing the ball that ended up being the pick six, turnovers, penalties, all of these things in individual games that had happened came together in this one game. And one of my favorite quotes from maybe the only quote I like from Bobby Petrino. But he was talking about that, early in his career when he was coaching and his team was struggling, and his dad is, a big-time coach in Montana, I think, high school coach, legendary guy. So he's talking to his dad, and he's like, I can't figure it out. We do this in this game, then we do that in that game, and then we lose because of this. And his dad goes, well, I know what the issue is. He goes, what? He goes, you're not very good. And so, and that's what sort of I look with this Chiefs offense is like, well, if they can just fix this, or, if they can just fix that. Well, this game, this happened, and that game, that happened. Oh, I know the issue. What? It's not a very good offense. There's your issue. Yeah. And that's just simply reality of where they're at right now. I don't know if they can fix everything. Like, I don't even know if Craig, there's like just focus on this one thing, and if you can fix that, then, hey, maybe you'll be a little bit better, and you can try to win games 21-17. But, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be worth it just to try to jump in head first and say, we're going to fix everything all at once. But it's also damn late in the season to even get to a point to where you go, well, if we can fix this and this, like there's 2 games left. Good teams don't play their worst game in week 16 or week 16.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I mean, I hate to keep beating this dead horse, but that's why Andy makes it so simple, because it's just one of those. It's like, hey guys, we're making mistakes. We're not doing the right stuff. Like we're just not doing the little stuff right. We need to clean this stuff up. So it's on me to take some of these more exotic elements out of the offense. Let me back this off a little bit, allow you to get your groove back, and then we can kind of, turn the key again and see if the engine starts and just kind of do that. And it's not. They're still making those mistakes. We can point to the wide receivers, as a group and say, man, these guys have not been particularly good as a whole this season. They need a reboot of that. That doesn't fix what we saw on Monday. It helps a little bit. The Chiefs might win that game with a better wide receiving core, but there's still a lot of overarching issues that are existing within the offense, within the structure of the offense, that are still there. And so, yeah, you look at all this and you say, it's not very good. That's exactly the case. They're trying everything they can. They're hitting all of the buttons, pulling all of the levers that Andy Reid has done throughout his career to try and get things right, and none of the levers are working. And that was, to your point, a culmination of everything in the season that we have seen on offense that has gone wrong did go wrong on Monday. And when you look at this, when you are looking at some of the ways to try and fix it, I understand Andy Reid coming out in the presser and saying, hey, listen, we're not playing particularly good football here, but we'll believe we get it right. Because you can point to, hey, stop turning the ball over. Hey, offensive tackles, let's play better football. You've done this before. You can pull elements throughout the course of the game and say, yeah, we can make this offense work. We can do enough to help our defense. We can win football games this way still if we just if we quit shooting ourselves in the foot. But at what point and how much foot do you have left? You're in week 16 and you're still unloading the clip into your foot every single week. And that's the real question here. At what point are they just going to say, what, screw it. Let's open up the playbook again. We're not lining up right anyway. We're not executing particularly well anyway. Let's at least put something on tape that people haven't seen before, that people haven't been able to just kind of trigger and do. Let's push the ball down the field a little more and get the safeties out of the box, give Travis a little more room to work in the intermediate areas of the field. Let's, just screw it. Let's just do it, because right now, we're playing bad football, and the scheme, dumbing it down to try and restart this thing, didn't help. Let's layer it back on again, because, at this point, what more do you have to lose? At least give yourself the ability to try and confuse the defense and put more on the defensive coordinator rather than making it as easy as they have.
Craig Stott is our guest. You're talking about that, like, maybe just, throw in some concepts, go deep, try to take the top off the defense from time to time. Like, we're in the upside down now where we're saying the Chiefs should throw the ball deep. I mean, for how many, 2 years in a row, it's like, gosh, just take what's there. Just throw the ball underneath, methodically move the ball down the field. You're not having those big explosive plays, but just take what's there. And then every once in a while, if you get a chance, boom, hit them over the top, make them pay for, trying to come up and attack the underneath, because you're staying consistent with that. But they're only attacking the underneath. Like, that's all they're doing. And it's like we're talking about a Chiefs offense and a Patrick Mahomes where you're going, God, I'd like him to see him throw the ball deep from time to time. Just throw it deep and take some deep shots. Not just no matter what, throw the ball deep, but if it's there, I mean, do that instead of what felt like in this game, Craig, was the ultimate, I'm just going to look for the underneath and the check down stuff. I'm going to look intermediate and line of scrimmage, and that's going to be the game plan for me in this game. That's what it felt like with Patrick Mahomes throughout 95% of that game. And maybe that was the game plan. Maybe those were the play calls. That's all we want you to do because that's all we trust of what's going on. Because the offensive line, you couldn't trust on any given down that they were going to give him time to take a 5-step drop even out of the shotgun and then sit there and let the plays develop, the routes develop. So maybe that was in that game where they go, we're outmatched. We're outclassed, outmatched on this defensive line. We go to adjust right now on the fly, and that's going to be intermediate and screen passes and swing passes and try to get the running game going because that's the way we can have success. Because if we try to throw deep, he's going to be running for his life. He was a number of times, but he's going to be sacked, and the play's not even going to develop. Because there were a couple plays where, he was scrambling before the receivers were even getting to the point to where they would turn around and see that Mahomes is running. You can't have a second play if the receivers don't even know that the first play is toast. So it's like scramble drill, and Mahomes is scrambling, but there are guys still running their routes down the field that have because of the deeper concepts. Well, you're screwed at that point. I mean, it's like nothing you can do on that one if you're Mahomes.
And it's not like it's coming from a blitz either. Like, that was the problem. When it's coming from a 4-man rush, you don't have a hot read. You don't have Mahomes standing at the line of scrimmage going, okay, this guy's coming, so we got to make sure, let's adjust this. Let's reconfigure this so we can get the ball out quickly. If you're playing against a blitz-heavy team and this team is throwing the ball as short as they were on Monday, sure. We're playing against the Vikings. Vikings going to blitz 60% of the time, get the ball out. Yeah, absolutely. I get it. But when it's a 4-man rush, when they've got, kind of a standard coverage on the back end, they're playing a soft zone, and the safeties are standing flat-footed, and they're going, hey, you can throw vertical routes at us, but we're not going to bite on them because, A, you're not attempting them. The Chiefs, this is the lowest percentage in the Patrick Mahomes era, tied with 2021. Last year, they threw more deep passes, but tied with 2021. Again, everybody will remember that one is the year that, a bunch of passes bounced off a bunch of receivers' hands, and Tyreek Hill was a culprit of that. So, once again, they condensed everything down against a lot of too high defenses and really maximized those players. Last year, they threw the ball downfield more to McCole Hardman, to MVS. They're not even doing that this year, and those guys are on the rough now. McCole's hurt. I'm waiting to see, McCole coming back in. Maybe that opens things up a little bit more. Again, you hit on one deep shot, defensive coordinator starting to get a little bit scared there, but these safeties are just not moving, and they don't have to because there's nothing that's getting open down the field easily. There's nothing that's getting open down the field quickly enough for Patrick Mahomes to kind of stand back there and deal. And when they do get open, when we see guys that are open in the middle of the field, on Monday especially, Patrick Mahomes is already running out of the pocket because he had pressure in his face, because he had Malcolm Kuntz, giving one him more as the business. He had Matt Crosby in his face. They can't function as an offense in that because, again, the margins for error are so slim. And if you can't throw the ball down the field, you're just going to see everybody creep up further and further and further. And then when your offensive line can't protect, boy, that's just a big recipe for disaster because now everybody can just go downhill, play aggressive football, which is what Antonio Pierce wants them to do for Vegas. A really well-coached football team there in that regard. So it just compounds all the errors in bigger and worse ways. And teams are going to look at the way that the Raiders, the way that the Patriots, the way that other teams have recently played the Chiefs and just go, oh, hey, they're not throwing the ball down the field. Why do we care? Let's just play downhill. Let's force them to play perfectly because we know they can't right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times. I mean, it was a lot that post-snap the Raiders brought one of their safeties into the box, just sprinted right downhill.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's a post-snap read. Like, is Mahomes even thinking second level? Is he looking at the offensive line? Is he worried about what's going on there, trusting what in years past, that you bring that safety down in the box and the Chiefs have something with a concept over the top, he's toasting you. Like, you're done. They weren't doing that. The Raiders did it all the time in the game. They just didn't have an answer for it. So, look, I mean, they've already committed 3 penalties on offense, 3 more penalties on offense this year than they did all of last year. They have 2 more games to go.
Oh, I thought you were saying they'd already committed 3 for next week, and I was ready to believe you. Because that's for the offense.
Also true. Also true. They have already committed 3 penalties for the game against the Bengals, and making up for that. Last year they were number 1 in the NFL with passes of 20 or more yards. The deep passes, the big plays, 20 more yards. They were number 1 in the NFL with 73 of them. 2 games to play, they've got 46. So, you're doing some things, you're going backwards, and you're not overcoming those things. Last one for you, Craig. Defensively, I know you love the defensive side of the football, and the Chiefs were really good on defense against the Raiders. So it's hard-pressed to say, well, they're good, but, hey, can they do more, and are they not doing enough? They're doing enough to win. The question would be, Spagnuolo's focused on turnovers. They did it all through training camp. They're punching the ball out, which resulted in Travis Kelce to punch, Jack Cochran. I mean, they're trying to get the ball out constantly. Yet since the bye week, 6 games, they've got 3 turnovers on this defense. They've been so good. Is that some noise in football that those things start to come in bunches? Is there something there that you're seeing as to why, the Chiefs defense has been doing more than their part to win games, but they haven't been to the degree of the Raiders have 4 defensive touchdowns the last couple of weeks and all these different turnovers that they've caused, created, whatever it might be, that the Chiefs haven't been able to get the ball away from the offense?
Yeah, and, the Raiders, number 1 defense in EPA since week 8, partially because of those turnovers. Broncos are up there, too. Same sort of deal. Turnovers are one of those things for Spagnuolo that he's always hunting for. And in previous years, maybe you had a guy, again, going back to the Tyrann Mathieu days, you had a guy that kind of made the defense right in a different way than some of the other Chief safeties do right now. They are a better defense, in my opinion, this year, a significantly better one than the one in 2019. But that 2019 group, Tyrann Mathieu was in places that the quarterback didn't expect him to be and shouldn't have been based on route distributions and things like that. He was just such a smart football player that he was able to jump those routes, create those turnovers. We see more of that. We saw a focus of some of those teams, maybe strip sacks, bringing guys down, being able to pop the ball out and things like that. Those create more turnovers. We see more of those. This year, it's just such a sound defense that it's hard. Teams don't want to throw the football. I mean, Aiden O'Connell didn't throw a pass after the 2-minute mark in the first quarter that, that was the completion. And he didn't really want to throw the ball. They didn't want him dropping back the pass very often because bad things happen when you throw at guys like L'Jarius Sneed, when you throw at guys like Trent McDuffie, when you drop back the pass against this 4-man rush. So we're seeing kind of a concerted effort for safer throws, safer concepts, shorter concepts, and the success rate by comparison to this Chiefs defense has skyrocketed because of that. They are getting off the field far more regularly. It's why they have so many fewer points per drive. They're not trying to gamble. They're not trying to do some of those things that we've seen in the past with Steve Spagnuolo, where it's like, hey, we have to have a big negative play to retrieve what's happening on defense right now. They can kind of line up and say, no, it doesn't really matter what you guys try to do. We're going to stop it, and that forces offenses. I just got done talking about defensive coordinators being terrified of explosive plays. Offenses are terrified of turnovers, so they're going to call safer concepts. They're going to call things that aren't as complex against the Chiefs defense. They're going to try and take more layup shots versus maybe trying to force things into coverage, and that results in less turnovers because of that. But because this Chiefs defense, again, is so good at every single level and they're playing so well, you look at it and you go, yeah, it would be nice to have more turnovers to help out the offense, but how much more can you expect when they're allowing, in a game like Monday, 1.27 points per drive? Like it was less than that. I'm sorry. It was much less than that. That was what the offense allowed to the Raiders defense, which was more than what the Chiefs defense allowed to the Raiders. So, I mean, it's one of those that you look at and it's like, that's enough. Like, they're doing enough. So, yeah, turnovers would be nice, but it's more of like a deficiency of, hey, defense, we need you to pick us up because the offense can't do anything, rather than, hey, defense, you're playing pretty phenomenally right now. Just keep it up.
Craig Stout, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Craig, you're the man as always. Appreciate the time, brother. Have a happy new year, man. We'll talk soon.
Hey, absolutely. You too, Jason. Thanks.
Absolutely. There's Craig Stout, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Go check out his stuff there, kcsn.substack.com. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up in about 20 minutes from now. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling on this Thursday edition of The Zone on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You know, it's been 6 months we've been working. State in action later on today. 4:45. You can hear it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The Pop-Tarts Bowl. Josh is already enjoying some Pop-Tarts today. Have you had one? Have you had two? Did you put butter on a Pop-Tart? It's freaking good. I
had one, and then since there's not a toaster here, I saw in the box that there's a suggestion that you can freeze and eat Pop-Tarts, so I put one of them in the freezer just to see. I'm gonna have a room temp Pop-Tart and then maybe a frozen Pop-Tart here today, and then for the actual game, I'll break the toaster out for the Eggo collaboration. So
did you Google search how to eat a Pop-Tart?
Well, on the box here, I'm going to have to move it because currently your stand-in is standing on top of a box of Pop-Tarts. Let me see if I can. It says, crazy good no matter how you love them, straight from the foil, toasted, stacked, or frozen. Now, I have diabetes. I can't be eating two Pop-Tarts at once. That's unnecessary. Sorry, Travis Kelce. This is not two things at once that I will do.
Two Pop-Tarts at once!
I'm simply not willing to go that way.
And then his mom would say, that's not two things at once. Mom.
This says, put pouch in freezer, wait 20 minutes, enjoy that frosty goodness. I've had it in there for longer than 20 minutes, so I guess I should probably try that. But
yeah,
I also have, real food here that I should probably eat, so it's not, I know it's the breakfast of champions, but I don't know if it's the brunch and lunch of champions. It will definitely be the mid-afternoon snack of whatever I am. So we're just having a very Pop-Tart heavy day today, as I think we should.
Do they have an adjusted calculation for the Guaranteed Foods freezer that stays at 0 degrees constantly? Is there a calculation there if you're using Guaranteed Foods freezer, only 5 minutes there or 8 minutes? I don't know.
Yeah,
that would be different at my house.
I don't know what the non-guaranteed freezers do temperature-wise.
Also a good point.
I'm not sure. I'll Google this. Let's figure out what's the typical temperature for your average freezer.
You can adjust those things, right? Like you can make it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we have two different we have two different refrigerators.
Yeah, you do.
Well, one's in the basement. It was there when we moved in. Don't worry, we didn't buy it ourselves. It was already there.
It's okay. Don't be embarrassed of having two refrigerators.
Which also means we have two freezers connected to refrigerators, and they're at different temperatures. Like if we want something more frozen, it'll be the one upstairs. If we want something less, we'll put ice cream downstairs because it is a little softer. It's not where you don't have to put it in the microwave. this ice cream, but if we put it in the Guaranteed Foods freezer, well, you got to microwave it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, you have to grab the flamethrower that you also have two of, and just cook that sucker.
It's I'll just take the ice cream out of the freezer, and then I'll use that to be able to chip concrete if I need to. I'm missing a tool to try to get this, and I don't know that I want to go and rent a jet. What about the ice cream out of the freezer?
I frequently this is a real struggle. I frequently struggle with having foods at the ideal temperature. If food's supposed to be hot, I really like it to be piping hot, and the ice cream might be the biggest challenge of all because it has to be soft enough for you to get it out of the container, be it by scoop or by spoon or whatever. You get one of those I almost said single serving like Ben and Jerry's. It's not supposed to be a single serving. It's just if you believe in yourself, it can be. But
has anybody ever put those things down?
No.
Had a multi-serving out of those things? Those are not single servings, but they should.
If I can get two out of it, I'm usually pretty content with myself. I'll usually I'll eat the top half and then put it back in the freezer and then go back for the other half. An hour or two later because I'm restrained.
I'm forever in getting multiple servings out of one of those things. It's never happened. Because I get to a point where I'm like, there's not even enough for the next sitting. What's the point? I might as well just enjoy it now.
That's how they get you. I try. If you can make yourself stop, you think, you know what? I'd be happy to eat the remaining amount of ice cream in a separate sitting in a day or two. That is the point of no return. As soon as you take one more bite out of that chunk, it's over.
Yeah, you've got to stop before you're fully satisfied with that serving to be able to be again close to satisfied with the next serving with one of those. I bet they have done years and years and years of research and testing to figure out what the right amount is for you to think you're going to make two servings out of this, and it's like, you know what, bleep it, I've already eaten too much. I'm just gonna
what is the I'm just thinking about those Ben and Jerry's ones.
Yeah.
What is the unit of measurement there? I don't know. Is that a pint?
It's a yard or something. I don't know.
I think it's a meter.
It's a meter.
I'm curious here. I think it's a pint that would be this size here. I'm gonna check. I've not looked yet. I do not have the nutrition label up. Give me your guess. Not even for calories, because it'll change from flavor to flavor, I guess.
Wow. So like,
but servings.
Calories.
How many servings do you think the nutrition label says is in a Ben & Jerry's pint of ice cream? I have a number in my head, but it seems ridiculous.
2?
I want to say 2.5, which would be ridiculous for them to do, but it's just what I'm thinking. Dylan, how many servings do you think the nutrition facts say are in one pint of Ben & Jerry's?
Give me 5.
Oh, okay, here we go. 3!
Ooh, okay.
2/3 of a cup. That gives you 330 calories per serving, or a nice about 1,000 per pint if you're cooking with the whole thing. I think there have been times that I've gotten 3 servings out of one of those, but that's when I'm feeling especially strong mentally,
especially frisky.
Yeah, I really believe in myself.
Yeah. Well, I don't. So let's mark that off of the format for.
Yeah,
talking
I figured
Ben
you
& Jerry's.
had that on there.
There we go.
I mean,
got that one.
Now you know a great way to eat a Pop-Tart. Put some ice cream in the middle. Stack those 2 suckers up. Pop-Tart ice cream sandwich.
Also butter. That works too.
And butter.
We'll hear from the Chiefs next. Rolling along on this Thursday edition of the show. Sports or Leisure coming up at 1 o'clock. We'll hear from the Chiefs here in just a little bit. We'll head out there and hear from Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, and today at the podium, cornerback Trent McDuffie will be there. Looking forward to that. Awesome. Will anybody ask him about the matchup on Monday with UW taking on Texas in the playoffs?
I bet someone does.
I bet they do too. My son for Christmas got a Trent McDuffie autographed mini helmet.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So, yeah, he loves Trent McDuffie. He's a big fan of Trent McDuffie. So, I said the other time, I'm like, well, Trent McDuffie, it's his favorite Chiefs player. He goes, Patrick Mahomes. I said, after Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, look, kid, you got to have a favorite non-quarterback.
I figure that's a given, son. They know that. They realize that that's the case. Maybe even after Patrick and Travis.
Yeah, a favorite defender. Like that says a lot more about your personality as a fan than loving the quarterback or the superstar skill position player.
Right, absolutely. Like he loves Trent McDuffie. So, that's what he got. He got the mini helmet. He's not sure what to do with it. He's not collecting things yet. So
yeah.
It's like, you'll enjoy it more as you get older. But I said, Trent McDuffie autographed this. Like that's his autograph right there on the helmet. He's like, oh, that's cool. He's like, can I take it out? And I'm like, well.
I mean, don't put it on your stuffed animals and then have them headbutt. But
yeah, I mean, you can take it out, but it's not advised. It's like, I don't think that's really what you would want to do. But hey, you know what? It's your present. I'm just saying I wouldn't take it out if I was you. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I certainly remember that push and pull of a childhood thinking, well, it'd be way cooler if I took this out of the box right now, but I'm supposedly supposed to want to keep it in the box. It's difficult. It's a tough situation. Do we lose
listening to the injuries there? Sorry.
No, you can hear them.
Okay,
I didn't hear them.
Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is sick. Pacheco, I didn't hear what the injury was, but
concussion
doesn't
protocol,
sound like he'll
probably.
practicing. Yeah. Donovan Smith and Jalen Watson is back at practice.
Cool. Okay.
So there you go.
So LaMichael Pirine, come on down.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Well, at least DJ Reader isn't out there for the Bengals, okay? Here's Dave Tobe.
Right. Fire away.
Well, first, I guess take us through the fake and the operation of that and kind of the decision on when to do things like that in a game.
Yeah, that situation, the time was running out in the half. It was getting down, and possession-wise, we probably weren't going to get it back again. And the down and distance, it was 4th and 5, and we practiced that all week, for that situation. It's a fake that we have because Tommy can throw the ball so well. And those guys executed it unbelievably because they kind of knew it was coming. They defended it. I mean, the corner dropped back and they defended the 5-yard spot, but 84 pressed it and then made the play work, and then Tommy adjusted too. So both of those guys deserve a lot of credit for making the play work. With the defense that they showed us.
Is that a play call that's made that's happening no matter what, or is it something?
Oh, no, it's a look thing. Yeah, I mean, obviously if they double our gunner and stuff like that, I mean, it's different. And, I mean, it's not something that's automatic. It's not called and running any time. It's a look thing, for sure.
Harrison still having an outstanding year, but.
Yeah, he missed a couple. He missed a couple short ones. It's kind of uncharacteristic for him. I'm not sure. He kind of pulled the second one. The first one was a push, so it's a two-way miss on a short kick. So he's got to get that ironed out. I mean, it's nothing I'm hitting a panic button over for sure. He's so good in practice.
Sorry, Dave. You ever see anything like that thing in New England that first half with the deflated balls?
Oh, that's such a it's. I mean, it's no big deal. I mean, both teams played with the same balls.
Yeah, right,
I mean, it doesn't matter, I mean, it's really a non-issue. I mean, obviously it happened a couple of weeks ago. So
we were talking to Harrison about it. He said he can kind of tell the difference when they pick a ball up, and they're used to different things like
sure,
that.
yeah.
What is the process before a game
We don't even see. We don't have. We don't have the balls. I mean, they have the ball.
Right?
Yeah, it's the I mean, the referees take care of that.
Yeah.
They just told me I came out at halftime and they told me that every ball, Dave, I just want you to know every ball was deflated to 11 pounds. I said, okay. Now we got them all correct. I said, okay, and that was it. That's all I heard. There's no excuse on that. I mean, no way.
A non-Chiefs thing, but Devin Hester up again, finals.
Yes, yeah, very, very proud of him. Final 15. Yeah, I texted him last night. Maybe this is the year for him. I mean, it's time for him to get in. I mean, when I'm not knocking the guys that are on the list, but he kind of stands out now. I mean, he's a guy. He's been up for 3 years now, and he's been a finalist, and it's time for him to get in my opinion, obviously.
When you first got him, did you know right away? I mean, he was like.
Well, when we drafted him, we knew he was talented, and we drafted him in the second round, which everybody thought we took him too high. About what are they doing taking a guy who doesn't even play a position? But it's a credit to Lovie Smith and that personnel, and our evaluation of him as a returner. And we didn't know he was going to be what he is, but obviously after he scored in the first game, against Green Bay, touchdown. So kind of set the tempo right there.
Generally speaking, how happy have you been with Rich James and the job he's doing?
He's doing a solid job. He's fielding the ball. He's making good decisions, and he's getting better and better each week. And he's getting closer and closer. And the guys are blocking it up pretty good for him. And I'm happy where he's at right now, going to where we are here at the end of the season.
Coach, you spoke about this already a bit, but Tommy's throw was like a 30-yard throw, and you think
it was an adjustment too. I mean, it was amazing because the route, that's not what we practiced. He had to run a different route because of the way the guy was playing him, and he had to throw a deeper route, and Tommy just threw it in there perfect. Away from the cover guy. Excuse me. It's just instincts, football instincts. He's got it. He's got. Some people can do it, some people can't. Tommy can adjust, and he's got great touch on the ball. On deep throws, and I mean it's pretty good.
When you look at the Bengals, what do you expect out of them on their team?
Well, first of all, I mean, it starts off with Darren Simmons, the coach. I mean, he's been there for 21 years at one place. I mean, that's rare, for any coach, and it says a lot about him and what the job that he does. He's outstanding. The guys play hard, never out of position. Really good cover units. Punt and kick off, and just solid all the time, every year solid, top 10, top 5.
Come on, Mark.
Yeah, Dave, speaking of Devin Hester, what about him during that era, skill set wise or characteristic wise, made him so unique?
I think it was a combination of his strength and speed. He had great top speed, but he was also a bigger guy, and he would break tackles too. And, that's the thing that kind of goes under the. He was such a make you miss guy and be able to run away from people, but in a crowd, he would come out of a crowd because he would run through tackles and make the first person miss for sure. And just great hands, great vision, instincts. Had a sixth sense of coverage, like he knew exactly how much to press it before he'd make the next cut.
And kind of in this era, what does it take for a returner, with the rules that you have and everything now, for a returner, what do they need to be?
Well, that's what Devin Hester did. He changed the game because now the coverage, the gunners are better, the punters are better, everybody's better because of what Devin Hester did. I mean, everybody has a returner now. He really brought the special teams to another level. Him as one single player as a returner.
Is there anyone you see in the league that has his skill set right now?
There's a lot of returners that are great, but probably the closest that for me, if I had Tyreek in a full time, just all he did was punt and kick return, he'd be up there, pretty good. Yeah.
Last one item. Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks. See you.
All right, there's Dave Tobe, special teams coordinator. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo and Matt Nagy, and also Trent McDuffie. How about the adjusted route?
Yeah,
An
what?
adjusted throw from Tommy Townsend on the fly? That wasn't what the route was supposed to be, but because the defender played it that way, they both had to adjust?
Who knew that the only thing the Chiefs' offense needed was for it not to be the offense out there?
An 4th and 5 at midfield, and the guys defending it that way, with Tommy Townsend have just another punt, all right, I'm just punting it away. All right, I know we're supposed to, but I'm just punting it because that's not the coverage we thought we were going to get. and I'm not going to throw it, which would be like, 30 air yards to the sideline for a guy that's cutting in an out route, and there's a little bit of space between the defender and the sideline, and I've got to throw it here 30 yards down the field in a certain spot. Yeah, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm just going to kick the ball. Boy, they got to – I mean, if that's the case, if they're able to do that, there's a real weapon with Tommy Townsend that they can do some other things on punts, if need be, at certain times. That, what's he, 3 for 4 in his career? I don't know. Maybe they do it more often at certain spots. I don't know. If he's that good to put it at that spot against that coverage, then, got something a little bit more than just a random punter that can throw it because the guy's wide open.
It's apparently the only way the Chiefs can push the ball downfield, too. I mean, that was definitely one of the 5 deepest air yards intended passes of the Chiefs game. It may have been significantly higher than that. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what? That was 10 yards past the line of scrimmage, right? Because they needed 5 yards, and that was an 11-yard catch.
And I know this doesn't change, in terms of the stats, but he was back there at a punter's depth, obviously, so he had to put even more under it.
Yeah, but it counts from the line of scrimmage,
right.
So that would have been 10-plus yards from the line of scrimmage. That would have been Patrick Mahomes out of his 44 attempts through 5 of those, and Tommy Townsend in his 1 attempt through 1 of those.
Man, I just got a little sad, actually. I knew that was the stat, like we were getting there, but then you said it out loud and it hurt.
Yeah, God, it's unbelievable. By the way, I'm betting over MVS receptions and yards for this weekend. I haven't touched any MVS line in a long time, but with how many times he was that wide open, Mahomes is seeing that on the film, right? Like and he comes out and says, "I need to read the field better." A specific question about MVS and saying, "I got to get him the ball. I got to throw the ball to him. He's open, and I'm not throwing." I think there's going to be more of a, all right, where's MVS on this play? Even if that's 2 catches. You know what I mean? Like,
if it's 1 catch, it might hit. I'm seeing if those lines are on DraftKings yet.
They typically don't come out until, Friday or so?
I need them on Thursdays. I need to be able to build parlays with the Thursday night game. And now bowl games, too. I really wish they'd pick this up for me here.
Yeah, they need to figure these things out. I mean, come on. College basketball's still figuring out how to...
Oh, we got receiving props.
What's MVS?
I mean, it's what it's been, I think, really close to the last few weeks. But 14.5. You could get Justin Watson over 21.5, MVS over 14.5, and Noah Gray over 11.5. You can parlay that, and if you get, I guess you can't parlay that. You just have to same game it. I haven't done the math on that yet, but you get some good odds for just some 15-yard receiving days.
No. What you would parlay is, so the only 2 things they have there at DraftKings, they don't have receptions yet, but they have longest reception. MVS longest reception is 11.5. If you're going 14.5, then parlay the 11.5.
Yeah, and I will probably wait for receptions also and just do that tomorrow because I did that for the one game where Kadarius Toney hit his over and it worked out.
Yeah, barely. He ended up doing that. But honestly, MVS might hit the over on the first drive. Like, I'm not even joking. Yeah. Like, it just, from so much talk of, Jeff Schwartz tweeting about it, me talking about it, him being specifically asked at the press conference yesterday about it, that, hey, MVS is open. He was open a lot, and you're just not throwing him the ball. What's the deal with that? And early on in the season, he was throwing him the ball more. I mean, it wasn't this MVS that we've seen, right now, what we've seen all year. No, it's been a progressive a backward slide in him throwing him the ball. And I don't know, maybe it goes back to that Eagles game. That might have had something to do with it. Threw him the ball there. Mm-hmm. That would have been over 14.5 and over 11.5, and that game would have been over as well if they got the ball back and a chance to whatever. So they might have won that damn thing. But yeah, I'm going over on some of those things. But it is a little concerning that Clyde Edwards-Helaire not practicing because of an illness, and Pacheco still in concussion protocol. Clyde, at one point, wasn't it a report that he was out for the Raiders game? Like on Monday morning, it was like Clyde won't play because personal reasons.
I don't know. I don't think I saw that. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw something where it's like Clyde will miss the game because of personal reasons, and then he was out there. He's battled an illness of some sort for a while now. Not sure what's going on with that because he's missed a number of practices over the last month with an illness, and so not practicing again today with an illness. I'd like him in there, obviously. If Pacheco can't go, it'd be nice to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire in there. He's shown well. He's done himself some favors in what this offseason may be. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. We'll hear from Matt Nagy and also Steve Spagnuolo here at some point. Maybe they're hanging out with Chris Jones right now. I'm not sure.
Maybe they're having some important meetings so they can come out and they can say, hey, guys, this wasn't very good. We've talked about it. We've had these discussions, me and the players.
Yeah, we talked. We talked to him.
Maybe Matt Nagy's on the phone with Dante Hall right now.
And Matt Nagy's like, look, you said you didn't know me. Get to know me. Hey, what do you like to do? What are your what are some of your favorite things in life? Huh? What drives you? Huh? Where's the fire in your belly now, Dante? Huh? Because I'll tell you what mine is. It's coaching. it's organization. That's what it is. That's what mine is, Dante. Organization. Patrick Mahomes. That's my fire. Okay, now you know me. Also, long walks on the beach. Also enjoy that. And wasabi, randomly. I love wasabi.
I bet Matt Nagy likes the long beach walk. He seems like a beach walker.
He does. Yeah.
Andy Reid, not so much. Steve Spagnuolo, beach walker.
Yes. What was the line that Andy used yesterday that was Vahe asked him about Kelsey and was like, you talked? He said, we talked. And he's like, and Vahe said, anything you want to get across? And Andy said, with you? No, not telling you anything. Here's Spags.
Holidays, everybody staying home. Merry Christmas, everybody, right? Happy New Year when I don't get a chance to say that. I'm just ready to roll. We just came out of a walkthrough. I was just on the production meeting with the CBS crew. Those guys, they got me all wired up, so I'll just keep taking questions.
What was the best thing you gave them?
The best thing I gave them, what did they? I'm trying. Well, when Tony rolled, you guys never been on a production meeting with Tony. But Tony, I don't have to say very much because Tony goes. He's great. I love him. And he's on there on the Zoom. It's a little different doing it on the Zoom, because you can't see everybody. And I've known Tony for a long time. Like when he was in Dallas as a quarterback and I was coaching in New York, we actually got to be good friends. One of the coaches on our New York staff, Chris Palmer, had worked with him down in Dallas, so I got to know. So I've always stayed in touch with Tony. So it's like talking to a good friend, which is fun. Jim Nance is the best. Tracy, they're great. I don't know how we got on that.
Steve, Legarius has been such a big part of what you guys have been doing this year. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but if he doesn't, what's that going to look like for you guys?
Yeah, it'll look a little different. Obviously, you guys have seen LJ has kind of traveled with, usually their top wideout. So the decision we'll have to make is, do we put somebody else in that role or do we do like we normally do and stay right and left? So we'll figure that out when the time comes. We're hopeful for Legarius. I thought both him and Mike Edwards going back in the game last week was big. Both of them kind of got dinged up there. And when you lose two key secondary guys in any game, there's some shuffling and some scrambling. And when those guys bounce back in there, that was huge. But, the training staff and LJ will make that decision. So hopefully,
When the injury status is uncertain with players such as Chase and Snead, how much does that maybe make you have to do A, B, C?
It's a great question. None of us have a crystal ball, right? But we got to have plan A, B, and C, and that's what we do. Now, the one, I'm sure they're thinking of it this way too. You're talking about Jamar Chase, right? They probably feel like he's had 1,000 reps at what he's doing and can lie. And we feel the same way about LJ. You can rest them and then they know what they're doing. The other guys that are in there as we practice, we'll practice as if we don't have LJ. And then we're ready to go if we get to Sunday and that happens. So that's kind of.
What do you see from them? Browning's had a month or so.
Yeah.
It's not Joe Burrow, but what are you seeing from them?
I tell you, the biggest compliment I can give to Browning is this. When we're watching the film, there are times when I go, was that Joe Burrow or was that this backup that came in? They look the same to me now, and I think Joe's a little bit bigger. But when you see the mannerisms of the way they settle in the pocket and the way they throw, and even the things they're doing pre-snap, they look the same. They do a great job coaching. I used to think the same thing about all the quarterbacks that played in New England. They just had the same mold. They had the Tom Brady mold, tall and big, But I'm really impressed with this quarterback. He goes in, they rattle off 3 straight wins. Now, I know they didn't have a great game last week, but throw that one out, and you're looking at a Cincinnati offense that, to me, is operating and functioning just like they have anytime we've gotten ready to play them. And that's a compliment to their coaches, the quarterback, all the skill they have, right? That doesn't change. And the other thing, because I watched some of the TV broadcasts and I heard, I think it was Tony and Jim mention that this offensive line has been intact for pretty much the whole year. That makes a huge difference.
How much coaching attitude do you have to do at this point of the year? Things haven't gone as well, right? Losing some games this year. You guys have played really well on the defensive side, but I know they were disappointed they didn't get to stop at the end.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's funny how you can play that. I told the guys in the meeting we had yesterday that's the nature of being on defense. It's a little different, right? You can play lights out, right? But when it gets to the end, and you got to have it because we needed to, when you don't do it, that's the thing that we think of. So we're disappointed in that. I don't think our guys have had any problem from the standpoint of being ready to play. That's how the unit functions. It's a credit to the character, the passion of the guys that we have. Staying healthy is huge. And from our standpoint, defensive coaches, defensive players, no matter where we're at, it doesn't change. We've got to keep points off the board. It doesn't matter whether we're ahead or behind. And we still know that we're still fighting we can still achieve the same things that we set out at the beginning of the year. So we just keep functioning that way.
You ever have a game where your guys leave the field and it's 7-3, and by the next time they go out there, you're down 17-7?
Did it happen that way? Was it back-to-back? Back-to-back plays or back-to-back drives? You got me on that one.
You gotta pay more attention.
I don't. I'm telling you. Yeah. 0-0 to me all the time. 0-0. No, here's what I do remember is that we got to go out there and stop a 2-point play. I mean, if you're going for 2 points, any team that goes for 2 points against you, it's pretty important, and it was there. Now, in hindsight, do the math. 18 it would have been 18-14. We still wouldn't need a touchdown, at the end. That doesn't mean you shouldn't stop the 2-point conversion, but you guys get what I'm saying. Yeah, that was hard, but yeah, we talked defensively. Listen, there's been many times when our offense has come out there and outscored people because we weren't able to keep it in the right point total. So we rolled together.
We're about to get Trent. We're a lot of games in the season now. He was so good last year.
Trent, you said?
Trent,
yeah.
How has he been maybe improved further?
Oh yeah, he just keeps doing this. I mean, he did that last year. Remember, he was out for that stretch where he was hurt and then had to come in mid-season. I thought that was really impressive for him to be able to do that. And he's kind of really developing into a slow, quiet leader. LJ and Justin Reed are kind of the guys, but you can feel that in Trent. And I think he's playing with a lot of confidence. I want him to get that first interception, though. I thought it was coming last week. I really did. I told him that. And I think he wants that too. And we need to turnovers. We need to find a way, to create. I mean, there's no secret to that. We work on it all the time. I mean, in some years, I can remember it was either this past off season or the one before. I can remember getting at least 2 phone calls from coaches around the league. I noticed you guys have X number of forced fumbles. How do you do that? What's your? We're not doing anything different this year than we've done in all the other years, but sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. But getting back to Trent, I'm hopeful that can happen for him because he's played so solid for us.
Steve, going against a guy like Orlando Brown, who's seen a lot of the looks and a lot of the rushes.
Yeah.
What are the challenges you have to do? Maybe disguise a couple things.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm hoping that the knowledge that our defensive linemen have, helps us. Of course, it works both ways, right? Because he knows our guys, but. Hopefully we'll be able to, before any of that even happens, we've got to get them in those situations because if it's the game's in the balance or they can pass and run because we don't get them in a passing situation, it won't matter. So it's going to be first creating that.
I get that there's a randomness to turnovers, but it just seems like when a ball's on the ground, not seeing it, or when the ball's tipped and it's in the air and it's anybody's ball, it's just not landing in the arms of the Chiefs player.
Yeah, there's been a couple games where there's been something like I can remember what wasn't it? It wasn't this past game. It might have been the one before. Didn't New England? Didn't the ball go up and Mike Dana had it and then I don't know something. Why does that happen? I don't know. I mean, but there's a turnover. I think there's been a couple. We didn't have any last week that came out that I remember. I don't know why that is. People in the right place at the right time. I will say this. I know our guys are relentless to the football. I've never had to look at the film and say, look, guys, we're not hustling to the ball. So that's not a problem. Maybe we just got to get the second and third guy in there, punch it away.
Or just batting. It seems like in the last few weeks, you haven't been batting down passes.
And some of that might be because we're really, really high. Maybe we're normal now. I don't know. But you're right, because we're used to getting a lot more batted balls. Why that happens, I'm not sure either. Maybe we got to get them in more of those passing situations. Play shorter quarterbacks. I don't know. Try to get some chip balls. Thanks, guys.
Play shorter quarterbacks. That sounds like a great idea. Go play Carolina and Bryce Young. That's perfect, man. That is fantastic. Steve Spagnuolo, we now know why he was running a little bit late. He was doing a Zoom with the CBS crew with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. So, old friend Tony Romo. So, here is Matt Nagy.
Number one, obviously, we start with we lost, and you go through that game and you understand, the opportunity that we had that was sitting there in front of us. And so we always start with ourselves, and Coach Reed obviously does that. I do that myself. And just you look back and you say, where could you be better? Where could you help out, whether it's throughout the week in practice or on game day, And so you get a chance that night, Christmas night, to have that pit in your stomach and think, where can we be better and where can we help everybody out? And there's just such a great amount of accountability through this team and players and coaches. So we get together the next day and we start talking through all that. And so without getting into details, I think it's been a very productive week so far of trying to, come up with answers and solutions and sticking together. But in the end, you have turnovers that turn into points, obviously in 7 seconds. The penalties, and it's been some of the same stuff. And I think that's the thing that we want to make sure that we as a staff make sure that we help these guys out and really hold them accountable and understand why we're doing it and how we get better at it.
Matt, I think you probably agree that when things aren't going right, when things aren't working, the quarterback is the one who's affected the most.
Mm-hmm.
What effect has all this had on Pat? How do you see it hindering his game or affecting his game?
So with Pat, the number one thing and the only thing he cares about after every game is winning and losing. And when you lose the game, now you go into the why part. What happened? Why did it happen? There's variables that go into every single play. Sometimes are noticed by people in the building and outside the building, players and not others. And sometimes it's very obvious. So what we want to try to do is make sure that we're not letting. I'll give you an example. If there's a play where there's a guy wide open, does he, as the quarterback or any quarterback, have time to throw it? Or is of the 11 guys, is one guy breaking down? Or if there's protection and there's something going off differently there. So what I'm saying is basically we want to try our best to try to get to that point to where all 11 and 12 plus the coaches, us as coaches, are really working in unison to be effective. And when we do that, we're pretty good. His frustration comes from losing, and then it obviously then leads into why on offense and how can we get better. And that's what we're working. The beauty is we stick together and we work towards solutions. That's one of our greatest strengths, and Pat's phenomenal at that.
You talked a minute ago about, hey, are there guys open, and is he or is he not getting him the ball?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen more cases of that where he's had time and just hasn't, for whatever reason, hasn't?
Not necessarily. I mean, you're going to have a play or two here or there where that happens every game, not just because we lost a game that happens. Sure. That happens every game. So I think probably when you go through these times, we all start searching, okay, and you start to look at these plays and you magnify it when it's a bad play, or even if it's a good play, you make it even a better play to yourself. You think it's a better play than really what it is. So what we need to do through this whole time is make sure that we understand and lock in at the ability to figure out the solutions and what they are. And I know it sounds like it's been that way pretty much for this entire year, but we are a resilient bunch, and we follow Coach Reed. And everybody in this building holds each other and themselves accountable, and everybody has a role. And it starts with Coach, and when you have that, and then you match that up with passion. I mean, this is a passionate building with a passionate fan base, and an amazing fan base. And so you feel the frustration from everybody, the guys inside the building. You feel the frustration from outside the building. You know, your friends, your family. There's frustration, but it's not. It's a positive frustration because everyone's they're so passionate about winning and so used to winning. So you want that. You don't want it any other way. You embrace it, and I think that's how we've approached this. We're sitting at a moment right now where, we always talk every year going in. It starts with Coach Reed. He says we got to win the AFC West. We didn't do it last week. We control it this week. How are we going to respond to that? And specifically offensively, what are we going to do? And so without getting into a lot of stuff externally, internally, we've had some great discussions, healthy discussions of how to do that. And but that passion, that energy, the stuff you see from the players, it's real, and we don't take it lightly. And we know we need to be better. We understand that. We accept that. And that's the goal.
Coach, do you sense that this could be, this last outing could be a low point? And I guess what gives you confidence that whatever problems you're addressing can be fixed in 2 weeks prior to the
I do believe that things can get much better and be more productive. When I say that, not having 21 third and fourth downs, in the games, being better on first and second down. So how do you get to that point? Well, we know what we think we can do, and between the players, the coaches, like everyone gets together, and there's no pointing fingers at anybody but ourselves, and that's where it starts. See, bad teams, they do that. They point the fingers at everybody but themselves. We actually do the opposite, and it starts with Coach Reed, and it just goes to these leaders on the team. And when you do that, then you get another opportunity. It makes it that much sweeter when you do win and you do get to that point that you saw in the end, you stuck together. And so I forget, what was the first part of your question to that?
Do you feel like this was maybe the low point?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it was. I mean, you can't run from that. That was not a good performance by any of us on offense, coaches and players. So I mean, we have to accept that. I think we have, and you got to use that now. And now, what are you going to do about it?
Matt, there seemed to be, especially in that 2-minute drill in the first half, just a lot of pre-snap confusion. You guys had to burn a timeout. Patrick looked like he wanted to play quicker. How do you solve that? And is it a concern that that's popping up in week 16?
Well, you never want that to come up at any time of the season. And again, like that's some of the stuff internally that we feel like we have a pretty good hand on. And there's a lot of variables that go into those issues. You have to eliminate them. You can talk about reducing them, whether it's penalties, turnovers, and that kind of stuff. But you have to reduce them and eliminate them. And again, in my title and my job is to be in charge of that and make sure that gets better and gets fixed. And so again, as somebody that's competitive and understanding and accepting that accountability, that's my job. That's my part, is to make sure that I do whatever I can to fix that thing. And whatever we need to do, we're going to do it, and that's what we've been doing.
How much do you feel like just the total product was affected by that sort of thing?
No, I think, there's some of that when it goes on, yeah. And you never want to use timeouts because of formations, especially in a 2-minute situation. You don't want that. But I think generally in all, we know that as a whole, as a unit, as a whole, and it started from the very first play of the game. The very first play is where it started. So I think that's where, when we sit there and we look at each other and we say, okay, how's it start and how do we finish? We talk about start fast, finish strong. And that's how do we get to that point? And our defense is playing phenomenal. Our special teams is doing great. So we have a high standard on offense, everybody, and we want to make sure that we stay high to that standard and understand where the frustration can be from fans. I mean, again, I'll say it, and I mean this when I say it. Everybody says they have the best fans. We do, and because the fans are authentic and they care. And so that's, we understand it, we accept it. Now let's fix it, and let's enjoy it together when we do fix it.
What's happening with the Mahomes and MVS connection? They don't seem to be on the same.
Well, I mean, again, you have different receivers at different times, and there's going to be some throws here or there that you miss, but they're working through all that. And I know you'd love to hear, it should be fixed by now, but they're continuing. They've had some big moments together. They really have over the past 2 years, and they've had some ones that they missed. So what do we do? Well, why did we miss on a certain throw? And so we continue to just work through that. But MVS has had a phenomenal attitude this entire time. Pat has been the same way. probably for me, from my standpoint of what I witness with these players right now as we go through this, is a lot of great honesty, a lot of great accountability, which I've been saying, but also positivity of trying to figure out how we fix it. And it's not, okay, this isn't fixable. No, it's hard work of trying to do it. And those guys are part of the crew of 11 trying to get that fixed and work better. And maybe we see more of that coming up.
You guys, last week the Raiders got out of the line pretty well
Mm-hmm.
and had Pat running around quite a bit back there. What's the challenge like this week with the Bengals, and what's your confidence level of your guys bouncing back and playing a little bit better this week up front?
Very similar, but when I say that, I'm talking about their defense. They got some really good players with Hendrickson that, is tops of the league, like Crosby and sacks, and guys that run around and disrupt a lot. I have an absolute amazing amount of belief in this offensive line that we have. I mean, these guys are special. They know it. They're fun to coach. They practice hard and they play hard. It's just last week, again, all of us, it wasn't our A game, obviously. So I have a lot of trust and belief in that offensive line moving forward this week. I just do. And, I don't think talking about it is going to do it. They're just going to put it on tape. And that's a good thing. And I know Pat feels the same way, and we all do. But I have an amazing amount of support for this entire offense, and we're working through it together. It's not easy, but if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. The winning is easy. This is the part where we got to stick together.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, there's Matt Nagy. We'll hear from Trent McDuffie. Number of things there. Obviously, he's answering some questions to the frustrations that are going on and what has been happening throughout this season about the offense. And, not many answers there. Certainly being asked the question.
Did you hear one?
Yeah. I
heard a lot of good questions.
Yeah, we know that can't happen. We know that those things can't happen. We're working on them. I've got faith in this room. These guys, everybody holds themselves accountable. Okay. It's great. Here's Trent McDuffie.
How you're different between year one and year two, and you mentioned your quiet leadership. Do you feel you kind of taken on that role a little bit in your second year here?
Yeah, I definitely think I've started to take on a little bit more of a role out there on the defense, especially playing that nickel position. There's a lot on me as far as checks, as far as just communicating out there on the back end with the linebackers and stuff. So on the field in that way, but also just off the field, just trying to keep that positive attitude around here and keep that culture of winning and kind of just making sure I reiterate what the coaches are talking about. So coming along quietly for sure.
Spags talks a lot about turnovers when he was in here too. What is just other than being right place, right time,
Mm-hmm.
what's the art of the controllable part of creating turnovers?
Yeah. Honestly, I think it goes back to just your practice habits. And like I said, I think this team has a really, really good job with players being intensive and detailed when it comes to stripping the ball out, picks, interceptions, and Coach Spags is always harping on getting that ball back to the offense, turnovers. And so in the game, there's not much that you can really control that can say, like, oh, yeah, if we do this, we're going to get turnovers. But I think going after the ball is going to be huge. I feel like there's a lot of times where, especially us on the back end, we're in the right place, we're around the ball, and we're just not making the play on it. So I think we just got to do a better job at mentally just being like, when the ball's in the air, we got to go get it.
You mentioned him wanting you to get your first pick. I know it's been like 3 years.
Yeah.
How eager, how hungry are you to
Yeah,
get
shoot, that's always something on my mind. I think it's always on a DB's mind is going to get that interception. But I've tried not to let it, affect my confidence and kind of affect my play. But definitely gives me this edge that I got to go out there and, keep proving myself and keep trying to go get that one.
I guess Legarius is working through, his physical thing.
Yeah.
But, from your standpoint, what kind of season is he having?
Oh, man, all pro. He's having one of the best. When I look at what he's doing, going against every number one receiver, locking him down, I don't think he's let up 100 yards on himself all year. I always say it's like a Darrelle Revis. Someone who's just put him on an island, let that man work. Like when I look out to my right and I see LJ, I'm like, okay, cool. He's locked down. Let's see who else, we got to work around. So he's also one of those guys that just takes over a game. He's one of those guys that he ain't got to say much. You ain't got to be out there. He's not rah-rah. You just know he's going to lock in and do his job, and you got to love to have players like that.
Of course, you're going to be biased, but is he the best cornerback in the league in your estimation?
I think so right now. I mean, bias or not, I think he's going out there and proving it week in and week out. I mean, for the past years, he's played all over the field, so you can just turn on the tape and look at 38 and know that he's going to be out there doing exactly what he needs to do.
We don't know if Jamar Chase is going to play. We don't know if LJ is going to play either.
Mm-hmm.
What's the matchup like? What do you like about your defensive backs against these wide receivers and tight ends?
Yeah, actually, I was actually last night just watching last year's game, that championship game, and I think that game we had like 8 guys go down, and I saw me, Josh, Jay Watt. I mean, B. Cook was out there, like all the rookies out there. There was no LJ. There was no Jay Reed, I think. And seeing all of us out there and the confidence and just knowing that if anybody goes down this defense, the next man up, like that is like a real thing. Like when we say next man up, like throughout this whole year, at least since I've been here, anytime someone had to come in and step into the game, it's like nothing has changed. And I feel like that's huge because games are fast. You know, you got to be able to trust anybody out there. And when guys go down, like they always do in football, it's nice to have other people step up and do their job correctly.
A couple more.
You mentioned, you were here last year, all you rookies won the Super Bowl. Life's not always easy, right? The National Football League. How do you guys handle, especially the young players, some struggles, not getting wins this month? I mean, how you guys been with the attitude there, and what are you seeing around the building about trying to get out of this a bit of a funk?
Yeah, I always say you always got to look up to the vets and the guys who've been here and kind of set the standard, you know. And I think the best thing that a young guy could do is just follow their lead, you know. I don't know if it's something we need to say, something that we need to do, but all I can say is this team comes back to work each and every day. I mean, win, loss, no matter what, we come back in, we get back to work, we watch the film, we correct it, and there's always this sense of positivity and excitement, you know, no matter what. I mean, we lost 5, 6 now, and I don't think the goals, the standards, like how everybody is holding themselves, nothing has changed. And to me, that's huge because I've been on the team where when you're losing, you know, guys start fighting back, guys start saying all this and that and getting selfish, and I haven't seen any of that. You know, everybody's selfless, everybody's relentless out there at the practice, and everybody wants to go be great. And so I think we got to just keep building on that.
Trent, what goes into your studying of blitzing? I mean, are you studying other defensive backs? Do you study even defensive line? Like, what just goes into your study habits there?
Yeah, definitely studying other nickels, safeties, and stuff around the league of especially like people who are playing the team I'm going against, you know, seeing how they time it up, seeing what they're looking at. Obviously talking with coaches, you know, D-line coach, Coach Merritt. I mean, all the guys around here have been huge and helpful with that. But I don't know, I feel like there's this little knack with blitzing, you know, that sometimes they pick it up, sometimes they don't. So for me, I think a lot of it is just disguise, trying to show different things within our own defense because it's not going to work if I'm showing a blitz and they can easily see it. So being able to do it within Spags calls has been huge for me.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right, there's Trent McDuffie, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, and Dave Tobe there. They may or may not have L'Jarius Sneed, but he has been awesome. I liked what Trent said there about I look out to my right, I see LJ, and I say, yeah, cool, he's locked down. Let me see what else to deal with, or let me see what to deal with something else, something along those lines. I was writing it down while he was talking. But it was to the point of I don't have to worry about over there. Other parts of the field, you know, I got to see what's going on and worry about those spots. And yeah, last year against the Bengals, so many guys got injured. I think the stat was McDuffie, Watson, and Joshua Williams played all but a total of 8 snaps in the game. So they were out there, those 3 out there combined played all but 8 snaps. And Reed was out there, but he may have been thinking of Willie Gay, who left the game at the beginning of the third quarter. So they were without L'Jarius Sneed, without Willie Gay in that game. And they held that Bengals team to 20 points. And as Tyler Boyd would tell you, that if he played, they would have definitely won because they were the only ones that suffered injuries in that game.
How is the turf, though? Is the turf okay?
I think it was okay. Like that was my issue with Monday. Like they kept slipping. The Chiefs did. How are you supposed to play a game when you're slipping like that? It's ridiculous. I think if the Chiefs had a better turf, then they would have beat the Raiders. It's the only takeaway I have in that game. Also, I don't know how you call that penalty late.
I mean, it's just the situation there. You just can't do it.
You just can't do it. What penalty is that? None of your business.
The late one. The one that happened late.
Penalty.
Before
Mind your business,
flag in the fourth
penalty.
quarter.
The mind your business penalty, that one. That's what I'm talking about. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. And we got Sports or Leisure coming up at 1 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. More Zone right after this.
Hey, if you want to go ahead and
We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. Text says it was a clip from, I'm talking about when said something about Clyde Edwards-Helaire being inactive for the game because of personal reasons. And text says it was a clip from Ian Rappaport. I think he accidentally said Clyde instead of McKinnon. I mean, McKinnon was on IR, though, not for personal reasons. I don't know. But I saw it that morning, and I'm like, oh, well, thankfully they got Pacheco back. And then that's third play of the game.
Well, and
he's
Clyde,
right there in the, I'm like,
Clyde missed practice for a personal reason one of those days.
Right.
So I remember now someone tweeting out that they thought maybe Rappaport had misspoken regarding Clyde, and that was the extent of what I saw about Clyde pregame. So I wonder what's going on.
And I saw some other people like retweeting, like, oh, we'll see what happens with Clyde. But there you go. So it was Ian Rappaport said that Clyde Edwards-Helaire out today due to personal reasons, per Ian Rappaport. But he
ruled him out. Okay.
Yeah,
well, that definitely didn't happen. So
yeah, right, and that's what I was shocked by. And I saw him out there. I'm like, well, that's weird. I saw the clips of him saying he was out, but neither here nor there. There is news though in the NFL of the Minnesota Vikings. There is another quarterback change in the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings are now making a quarterback change. They are going to start Jaron Hall. They've gone from Kirk Cousins to Jaron Hall for a couple possessions, and he got knocked out of the game. And that's when Dobbs came in, and they were drawing up plays on the sideline.
Oh, yeah.
To Dobbs, to Mullins, and now full circle, giving the Jaron Hall kid a shot again after 7 weeks ago when he came in relief of Kirk Cousins. But now they're going with Jaron Hall. The Vikings, a game out of the playoffs, the first team out of the playoffs right now in the NFC. Game out and prime time against the Green Bay Packers. Go get them, kid.
I thought you were going to go a different direction because I also have an update on a previous story. The frozen Pop-Tart thing is maybe slightly better than a room temperature Pop-Tart, but it doesn't touch a toasted Pop-Tart. That's my official ruling. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Have you put butter on it, though?
I haven't. I don't know if we have butter here, and frankly, I will. I promise, I will put butter on one of the Eggo ones that I have at home when I can toast it.
I really think you should. It's so frickin' good.
I don't think we have butter in the fridge here.
Text 913-912-4810. Text says, a tremendous insight. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Oh, man.
There's one movie I think of when I hear that, and I doubt you'll think of it, Josh, although I am proud of you with last night's accomplishment. But the one movie that I hear when I hear that is A League of Their Own. When Dottie goes up to Jimmy Dugan, and she's leaving the team, and she's like, it just got too hard. I said, it's supposed to be hard. That's what makes it great. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Which is exactly the same thing about playing offense in the NFL.
Was Matt Nagy's rendition as, enlightening? Did it fill you with as much true belief as League of Their Own did?
It did. Yes, it absolutely did. It made me feel good.
This is bordering on, not slanderous, because I think I'm going to keep it back one click beyond that. But I was going to note, look, Matt Nagy's not coaching us, right? Like, he doesn't have to convince the public or the assembled media that he has it under control. Like, he has to convince the players of that and then coach them and then have things improve. But, man, I just haven't heard an interesting thing from Matt Nagy in 10 weeks. And he just sounds stuck to me.
I mean, it's one of the questions was pretty direct. Guys are open and not getting the ball. It's you got to play like that every game. There's a couple plays like that every single game that there'll be, so you can look at it and there'll be some guys open and yeah, that's fine. But Patrick yesterday already said, I've got to read the field better. There were guys open that I didn't see. I have to read the field better. Of course, Matt Nagy was also asked about MVS. More evidence there of people are specifically talking about MVS, and then he said they're working through that. they'll get it fixed. MVS and Patrick Mahomes.
In that answer about MVS, he unprompted said, there's great honesty and great accountability. He talked about great accountability twice, which I think is funny given the last couple of discussions we've had about the current and former offensive coordinator and accountability and all of that. But is there great honesty and accountability when MVS in front of a camera pretends he doesn't know that his season's been terrible? And is there honesty when the offensive coordinator tells us that this is just a thing that happens every week? It is my responsibility for these problems to not be problems here on December 28th. I don't know, man. Again, I don't think firing Matt Nagy fixes almost anything. I don't think that there is just, I have no bloodthirst here. But man, it's just it makes me feel like he thinks we're stupid.
Well, the problem is there's no one magic move that fixes
absolutely.
everything.
There's not one magic problem either. There's a lot going on.
Right. Exactly. And some of that is what Matt Nagy said, and that's my job title, coordinator. Right. And there isn't a whole lot of coordination, it feels like. It certainly wasn't in that Raiders game. I mean, you got guys that are missing blocks. You got guys that are open, but the quarterback's not seeing them. You got guys that are running in late. You got guys that are lining up wrong. You take a timeout because of a wrong formation. You got issues on the sideline. You got play calling, plays getting called in at the last minute. So then they're huddling and rehuddling, and then when they break the huddle, they got 10 seconds left, and Mahomes has to then quickly go and snap the ball and not do what would typically be I'm going to look out here and see what the defense is offering. No, I just got to go. And I can imagine what it would feel like for a quarterback if that whole thing is sped up. Well, then you take the snap, and now your mind's probably all sped up, right? You don't have time to just sit there and survey, take it all in. Now everything's going fast. Well, shocker that Mahomes would have a late break of the huddle, get up there, take the ball, take the snap, and then quickly escape the pocket. Because I haven't even been able to assess who's coming, who's blitzing, all those different things. I'm getting the ball. I don't really trust what the offensive line is doing. But if I get out of this pocket and I can then look down the field, and then I can play. Then I'm back to being comfortable. But that can't happen in Week 16. I mean, it's 15 games in, and they're getting the play in late. Guys are in the wrong spot. Those are things that if it's you're reading about it at the Kansas City Star or KCSN or whatever, or hearing Todd Lebo report from training camp, and he's going, yeah, guys, there were a few plays here. Richie James went out there, and he and Pacheco were in the wrong spot, and Andy Reid was sort of upset at that. And then they were doing a drill where they were trying to real time it, and the play came in late, and they had to call a timeout and get back together. And so yeah, there was a part of practice today that was a little choppy, but it's training camp. They're working through those things. Honestly, if you said that in training camp, you'd be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense what some of those things happen. This was game 15 that it happened. That's not only is Matt Nagy right in saying it can't happen, it's inexcusable to happen in Week 15.
I think that is a great point, that so much of this is stuff that if you heard about it at a St. Joe, you'd be like, that's good to note, but not yet concerning. If it's still happening in Week 4, it's fully concerning. And if it's still happening in 2024, then the season is over.
That's right, yeah. They got one game, and I think even if they lose the next 2 weeks, they will still make the playoffs. There's a 3% chance of so many other things have to happen. We've seen it happen before. The Chiefs made the playoffs that way, so it's not a guarantee. If it was, it'd be 100%. But, they will play 2 games in January in 2024. They will play 2 games in 2024 this season. I know that. I know for a fact they'll play 1. I'm pretty confident they'll play 2. Yep. I don't have much confidence that they'll play 3, and that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks because I want to watch the game and the team, and with the thought of they're good enough to win the whole thing. They're good enough to do this, do that. And this year it's man, are they good enough? Yeah, if they play their A game and they get a turnover or 2, or they they win the turnover battle. They can lose the turnover battle and win the game. They were -2 against New England, right? Mm-hmm. They were -2 against New England and they won. Well, New England sucks. So yeah, they're -2 against New England and they won. They were -2 against the Raiders and they lost. They've been minus a number of times this year in losses. And to go back to something, Craig and I were talking about in the 11 o'clock hour when it was this happened and then that happened and then this happened and then that happened. And it's hey, I know what the issue is. You're not very good. The Chiefs have lost 4 games at Arrowhead and they lost 5 total from 2020 to 2022 and at Arrowhead Stadium, and they've lost 4 games this year at Arrowhead. And it's like, yeah, but, Detroit, the pick 6 happens, and then the dropped pass, and Jones didn't play. Kelsey was out. Detroit was trying to prove themselves against the Super Bowl champions. The only touchdown they scored, the Lions offensively, was a fake punt, and they extended the drive and they got a touchdown there. So that's kind of excusable. And, Philadelphia, they had the interception in the end zone and they fumbled the ball inside the 10-yard line, and MVS dropped a game-winning touchdown. Like, those things happen. That's not going to happen every week, right? I mean, you gave one away, but you know that's not something you do often. And yes, Buffalo only had 2 field goal drives in the entire second half, and Kadarius Toney lined up offsides, but it was kind of bogus. Do they really call that? And, Buffalo would have got the ball back, but they'd have been down 4, and that's sort of like, those things happen. You can't really think that – I mean, the Raiders got 2 defensive touchdowns. When's the last time a team scored 2 defensive touchdowns against the Chiefs? 48 net passing yards. I mean, come on, man. The Chiefs got to inside the 10-yard line twice, and they came away with 7 points. It took 7 plays to score the touchdown. Like, how often is that going to happen? Like, there's a lot of how often is that going to happen mixed in those 4 losses that in a vacuum are excusable. Here's how you can explain why that happened, and it doesn't seem like it's all that detrimental. It doesn't seem like that those are going to be fatal flaws in this particular team, and why their season is going to end early and prematurely than what you thought it was going to be throughout the early parts and certainly the offseason, thinking there was going to be a repeat. But when you put them together, that's more than a trend.
Real quick,
that's just simply what happens.
Dylan's got a quick game for us to play here.
Just before break here.
Just a real quick game. Go ahead, Dylan, take it from here.
So I want you to guess which game this is after that Matt Nagy is talking about here. Are you ready?
This game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
4th down throughout. So, when you have 80 plays like we were moving the football, doing different things, similar to the first time that we played these guys. We just weren't as productive. They have a good 3rd down defense. I think when you look at the numbers, 20-something attempts on 3rd and 4th down, 1 for 6 on 4th down. You felt that. And that's a credit to them. They did a great job there. So, we just didn't come out in the second half and finish them. And you got to give credit to them. The game kind of got away a little bit there towards the end, unfortunately, with the pick 6. So we were, that's where we're at right now, and was able to talk to the guys and just explain to them, hey, listen, this has been a long season, but at the same point in time, the thing that we all need to use these life experiences to make ourselves better, and how that is, and how you handle yourself. You look back and you say, did I stay the same? How do I, what did I change? And then how do I make myself better moving forward? It's important. These guys care in there. They care in that locker room. We care as coaches. And so, as I say every year to the team, the last 3 years and now this year, every NFL team is different heading into the next year, and whether it's players, whether it's coaches, and so individually reflect, see where we can get better. This isn't where we wanted to be.
All right, are you ready?
I've got a guess.
All right, go.
Josh, do you have a guess?
I know it. I know the answer. So yeah.
You do know the answer.
I do.
Okay. I'm going to guess, because of all that. I don't think that's in a Chiefs uniform. I think that's the last game he coached with the Bears. That's my guess.
I can't get to the dinger quick enough for you, but yes, you are correct, Jason.
Yes!
That is exactly when it is to the Vikings, Week 18.
I first thought, like, when I was listening to him, like, okay, this is more. This is after a game, so he's going to be a head coach. And I was thinking, is this Chiefs Bears when Mahomes had the big game and counted to 10 on his hand? Was it that game? But then as he talked about as the season has gone on, I'm like, this is the last game ever as the head coach, with talking about a lot of things.
Well, the guys in there care,
and they were getting things fixed still. Yeah. So
they are.
Got to get better.
He didn't get a chance to fix the stuff.
It's about to. He did take Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs, though. I mean, so I mean, there's always that, you know. It's like, well, this guy is terrible. He had Mitchell Trubisky as quarterback and took that team to the playoffs. I don't know. Certainly, it ain't this year ain't doing him any favors, and I'm not sure that he's doing any favors to the Chiefs right now in whatever's going on. But you know what? They've got 8 quarters of football to fix it. Plenty
Great.
of time.
Can't wait to watch those.
Plenty of time. 8 quarters left. They've got 12 quarters left in the season to fix it, at least. We'll see. Unless there's an overtime.
Hey,
we'll see.
Hey, Jason, they got 8 quarters to finish. I'll give Audrey a quarter, too.
Yeah. right, wrapping up this hour, we got some sports or leisure coming your way in the next segment. 913-381-810 is the phone number. 913-381-810 to play some sports or leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. As we wrap up hour number 3 on this Thursday. Don't forget, coming up at 4:45 today, the Pop-Tarts Bowl with K-State taking on NC State. Should be a fun one. We talked a lot about that in the first hour with K-State getting the first glimpse, the look at Avery Johnson, well, as the starting quarterback, and handing over the reins to Avery Johnson as the starting quarterback. So that'll be a fun one to check that out. And you can listen to it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Last hour of the show, 913-381-810, giving away $25 at Johnny's Tavern. Sports or leisure is how we wrap up this Thursday edition of The Zone at Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
Let's try a little sports or leisure on this Thursday edition of The Zone. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels, head up until 2 o'clock. All right, let's get some sports or leisure. 913-381-810, presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern if you get the sports or leisure questions correct. A sports question and a leisure question. You get them both right, you win $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We'll tell you what the categories are. You know, we had some Christmas-themed categories last week, and something really special happened last night. Really special took place last night, and I was like a proud father, and it had nothing to do with my kids or this show. Maybe a little bit to do with the show, but my heart was growing as a text thread was taking place. I get a text from Josh to me and Dylan and Mick Schaefer, and it's a picture of the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from Josh. And then he started watching the movie.
I did it.
While texting us during the movie, funny parts. And I was crying. Like, I was emotional. I was crying as you were going through some different things. And you texted, hey, she said, I'll give Audrey a quarter too. That's what Jason says. What are the odds? Like, yes,
I was proud
know.
of that one. That one felt good out of the hand. I am very interested on a couple of levels of what I caught on to that is crystallized in your mind as the best parts, or if I had any upsets. But most importantly, what I figured out very early on is that this is a movie about a dangerous father putting his family in emotional and physical distress because he is trying to chase down the magic of his youth that he will never recapture. And honestly, that makes it all the more relatable. I was pretty worried that we would end up in a position where we might have irreconcilable differences if the movie didn't land with me without the nostalgia that accompanies watching it every year forever. But I think we're safe now. I have now seen and thoroughly enjoyed Christmas Vacation.
I am so happy. I was worried that I would have to fire you if you ever did watch Christmas Vacation, or at least lobby for that, did watch Christmas Vacation and didn't like it, because that would be that's a non-starter. You know, it's one thing to not have seen it. You were already treading on thin ice at that point. But then to have watched it and not liked it, well, that's a bigger issue in and of itself. But to be getting some of the texts along the way that you say, full laugh out loud for them all just going along with the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, yeah, thank you.
That's the bet. That is the one that has stuck out to me. And Renee had seen Christmas Vacation many times, which I didn't know because her dad loved it, and so I told him also, like, I'm gonna watch this movie, and I will now have even more male figures in my life who will maybe look at me with a little bit less disdain around the Christmas season. Still some, but maybe less. And the line that I can't say verbatim, delivered by the little girl. Absolute knockout delivery there for a great line of dialogue. But nothing got me more than the laborious process of trying to get the old great aunt to say grace, and then she just starts going with the Pledge of Allegiance, and they all just go right along with it. That really, really tickled me. That was a laugh out loud. Watching alone, which is not the setting for laughing out loud. That one got me. That one really got me.
That's true. She passed away 30 years ago. The blessing.
Also, I fully side with the neighbors. I didn't realize. I thought that was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but it wasn't until the second time through. Like, I got to just double check the IMDb here. I don't know. That never clicked for me that she was in this movie. But the neighbors straight out of the Matrix really, really in the right on pretty much everything.
Oh, I mean, but we don't know the backstory. So I will say that in defense of Clark, we don't know the backstory because when he gets home with the tree, our first introduction to the neighbors was Julia Louis-Dreyfus taking her sunglasses off, or something like that, and going, I think the toad bit off more than he could chew. Immediately, we already know there's some sort of a problem. There's an issue. There's a discontent between these two people, these neighbors. They don't like each other. And then, hey, Griswold, where are you going to put a tree that big? Bend over and I'll show you. And I wasn't talking to you. Like there's clearly an issue there with the toad bit off. I hope he falls and breaks his neck. I'm pretty sure he's going to fall. I don't think we're lucky enough to have him break his neck. He hadn't done anything to them yet.
Also, that they're also a great line of dialogue. Here's what I do think this. I hope this doesn't end up being an undercutting of how I enjoyed this movie. But I think the first, I didn't time it, so there might be a little bit off. The first 30 to 45 minutes are spectacular. Just Chevy Chase versus lights and trees, I would watch that forever. That it is great stuff. As it goes through some of the Christmas movie kind of tropes, sometimes it works. Him watching the movies in the attic before having the stairs pulled down beneath him, that one got me. That was a great pivot. I would rewatch it over a Christmas season when you're wrapping presents or hanging out with the family or whatever.
Right.
1000% makes sense there. But the first half hour or so, I was pretty enraptured. There's a level of absolute mania that that Clark was going through that I really enjoyed. I don't know why, but both of the latter gags early on really got me. I wasn't expecting that to get me the way that it did. So yeah, no, this was a success, and maybe a year or two overdue.
And then as they were going along, then they introduced Eddie and bring him into the equation. And then you get getting the daughter cured off the wild turkey. Got the daughter in the clinic getting cured off the wild turkey, and the boy, bless his heart, is preparing for his career. College, carnival. Last year he was pixie dust spreader on a tilted whirl, and he's hoping this year he's going to be guessing people's weight or barking for the yak woman.
That was a good line. Eddie, for me, is a high variance player.
Okay, I get it.
Eddie and that whole family did just sort of ick me out more often than I know it was the entire point. And so again, I think it worked, but wouldn't call myself an Eddie super fan necessarily. But if he hadn't stood up to put his hand over his heart at the table, I don't know that scene would have landed that way. Because when I saw him get up, I knew it was happening. It was great.
Point.
So
yeah, there is a running gag in the vacation movies, and Eddie, I think, and everyone tries to kiss her, and she leans away every single time.
Good.
And every one of them.
Good.
So,
She should.
Yes. Ellen. So every single time. All right. So you liked it. Thank goodness.
I did.
He's going to post his full review on 810WHB.com.
I've been thinking about it. I could have done a tweet thread, but I decided to just text you guys.
So great.
And I figured we'd break the news of the world here. I'll at least tweet out something at some point now that this show has gotten the deserving first full review from me on Christmas Vacation.
That was when you texted that, I was bleeping rocks. Sorry, bleeping bricks.
I knew that line was coming, but delivered by a 3-year-old or whatever was just stupendous.
But see, then you'll start noticing the more you watch it, you'll start noticing little things. Like as they're walking through the grocery store, when Clark says to Eddie that we want to pay for the kids' presents. We want to help them have a good Christmas. As they're walking through and Eddie keeps loading dog food onto the cart, Clark picks up a box of light bulbs and sets it on the dog food right as Eddie is placing another large, and Clark's reaction just looking at him like, okay. So there's small little nuanced things that the more you watch it, the more they'll sort of pop up. You're like, oh my God, that's I never noticed that he put some light bulbs in between the smashing of the dog food.
That's very funny.
I
missed that.
So sports or leisure is sports questions about Christmas vacation and leisure questions about Christmas vacation only, apparently, which I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah.
Let's get into the categories here. On the sports side, we've got NFL, Chiefs, and Royal Editions again. So it's Christmas, a lot of stuff going on this week. Okay, NFL, Chiefs, and Royal Editions for the sports category. People really play this for the leisure anyway. Josh, what do you got on the leisure side?
I'm sure that's what everybody's thinking. I have the same categories as well, but I did reload the IMDb X MAS category because I was inspired by Christmas Vacation, and it's Christmas season until at least I think January 2nd. So we've got the pun name game, the grab bag of just questions that have come and go over the last several weeks. May the Drake be with you. That's our Star Wars trivia, a couple of those left. And then what could it IMDb Christmas movie edition? I'll give you the plot synopsis of a Christmas movie. You tell me what the movie is.
Awesome. I'm ready to go. Josh, you ready to play finally?
I've never been more ready to play than this moment right now. Dylan, are you ready to go?
Yep.
All the energy of a Matt Nagy press conference. Let's ride.
Yep.
That's right. You know what? If Dylan,
just gonna get things fixed, and just gotta take
if
accountability.
Dylan was ready to play, I could wake up with my hair sewn to the carpet tomorrow, and I wouldn't be more surprised than I am right now. If he was ready to play, you surprised, Clark? All right.
So
Is anybody on the line
now? Yeah, we have a full board.
Sorry, I can't see the line, Russ. Let's go to. Can't see the line, can you, Russ? Let's go to Travis, leading us off here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, Travis, let's get this thing going. Let's start us off. Let's give a lot of $25 gift cards away to Johnny's Tavern. Where are you starting first, sports or leisure, sir?
Let's go sports.
What category you want? There a lot of really good ones.
Well, what were they again, Chiefs?
There was an NFL one, there's a Chiefs one, and there's a Royal Edition one. It's very creative this week.
Let's do NFL.
All right, NFL for you. Okay, this one's been sitting here for a while, so I figured I'd go ahead and ask this one. Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert versus the Broncos. Yes, it's been sitting here for a while. Those are Miami running backs. Each had 4 touchdowns in the same game. Who's the last pair of running backs to each have 4 touchdowns in the same game?
Oh, man. Oh. 2 running backs on the same team that have 4 touchdowns in the same game.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
46 points just from the running backs. Not to make you do math, but
I don't. I'm gonna guess that's right. I'm not sure.
That's not counting extra
points. There's a very local connection.
Yeah, there has to.
Well, I'm gonna guess it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
You would be correct in that, but who did it?
Oh, who did it? Who are the running backs?
Oh yeah, who are the running backs?
Can you give
last
me
pair of running backs?
When this happened?
But since Marty, I'll tell you that.
Since Marty. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Charles is one of them?
Jamal is not one of them. He is not one of the answers, although it would have been awesome if he did. The problem is, like, who else would have scored before touch? Well, I guess maybe it could have been one of those Larry Johnson, Jamal Charles, or Colby Smith, Jamal Charles games. Come on. No, Jamal Charles, not one of them. Travis, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Let's bring in Avery. Avery is next up on Sports Radio 810 for a little sports or leisure. Avery, what side would you like to start with, sir?
Do you guys have like a Priest Holmes Blaylock question sitting out there?
See, and that's the problem with having Avery on second is I wouldn't have given him that question.
You could have led him off. You're right.
Yeah,
that's why Brian Waters got Offensive Player of the Week for the AFC.
Yeah. Yep, Priest Holmes and Derek Blaylock each had 4 touchdowns in the same game, and now Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert did that. It's been sitting there for
Derek
a while.
Blaylock, but I didn't want to say his first name because I was a Hank Blaylock for the Rangers. I always got his names mixed up. I was like,
well,
I'll
here's
just
the
say his
thing.
last name.
We demand people get names right on this show.
Yeah, we set that standard. We hold that standard.
There's one thing this show does. We get names right, damn it. Okay? We will not mess things up.
Yeah, so
all right,
what do you want on the
Eric,
leisure side here, Brandon?
I beat you to it.
Me and Beverly D'Angelo share a birthday. I'll do IMDb XMAS.
A fast lane investment broker offered the opportunity to see how the other half lives, wakes up to find that his sports car and girlfriend have become a minivan and wife. Hopefully, respectively, like in that, or like that. You don't want your wife turned into. Oh God, my girlfriend turned into a minivan.
Jesus, dude, it's not all about looks. No, I meant literally. She turned into a
No, like it's like a transformer. Like I'm worried. Like, do I call a hospital or a mechanic?
I'm not sure. He's dating his minivan again.
Does this movie feature Nicolas Cage?
I don't know. Did he?
Can you read it again?
A fast lane investment broker offered the opportunity to see how the other half lives, wakes up to find that, I'm going to switch the order, his girlfriend's become a minivan and his wife is a sports car.
What?
Dating a minivan, and it's around Christmas. So he's married to the minivan?
No, it's just the synopsis is to find that a sports car and girlfriend have become a minivan and wife. I don't think there's any actual transforming in this movie, but it's been a minute since I've seen it. I have seen it, though, shockingly.
I don't think I've seen it.
I think it's Nicolas Cage. I was trying to think of the name. Is it The Family Man?
Indeed it is. It is Nick Cage. It is the family man, and I do not believe he ever attempts to make love to a minivan.
Yeah, I think Tia Leone is the minivan, or she plays the sports car.
She's in it. She's definitely. I saw her name on the IMDb. I can't remember where she was cast, but she's got.
She voices the minivan. It's like the movie Cars.
Yeah,
you know, just,
that's right.
It's a very sexy version of Cars.
Yes,
that's right. All right. Well, Avery, we'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir. Dylan will get your information.
Thanks, boys. I love Lebo.
The family van.
Go. Yeah, it's Carrie. All right, let's go to
Chris. I think
Chris next up.
Yeah,
Chris. I think that's Chris.
Yeah, Dylan, you wrote
Chris.
Crid, and I just was like, hey, listen, if your name is Crid, Chris, we'll correct it. Apologies
kind of
for
flying
that.
around back here, so I apologize. It is Chris.
Hey,
Dylan, get names right,
actually,
man.
Christopher.
Come on.
Christopher.
Hey, Merry Cridmas, man. What's up?
Hey, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year.
You as well.
And to you as well.
Well, let's go with some "May the Drake Be With You."
Oh, all right.
Some
Nice.
knowledge. Yeah, let's crush some of this stuff.
I think right now I've left some pretty easy ones to be picked up as scraps at the end, so maybe this is just a gift for you here. But
I really want the hardest one.
He likes the hardest ones.
I'll give you the hardest one. I got 3 left, and I knew all 3 of them, so I'll give you what I got. But Jabba the Hutt disposed of enemies by dumping them into the pit of. You know what? I'm going to switch this up for you then. Degree of difficulty. The Sarlacc lives in the pit of what? The original question was Jabba the Hutt disposed of enemies by dumping them in the pit of something, which was the home of what? I knew it was the home of a Sarlacc, but it's actually called the pit of something. And it's not the pit of the Sarlacc.
Oh. Darn it.
Okay, so this is going to be in Return of the Jedi. Oh.
See, this is my total blind spot that many people in life are disappointed in me that, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I've seen the first 3 or whatever you want to call them, 4, 5, 6, whatever.
It's
and that's it.
Great Pit of Carcoon.
Bang! From downtown! The Great Pit of Carcoon. Again, that is the difficulty increased there.
Guys, I compete in Star Wars trivia I could do it for a living, but that's all right.
Well, you can do it. You can do it for $25 at Johnny's if you can also get the sports side.
Yeah, that's right. You got to throw that in there.
Alex Damon doesn't have blank on me, man. not one bit.
Neither does King Kong. On to the sports side, NFL, Chiefs, and also Royal Editions. Sir, what do you think?
I would have definitely gotten that Derek Blaylock Priest Holmes because that game single-handedly led me to getting the points because I started both of those running backs.
Wow.
That went. And who cares about fantasy? But that definitely led me to our overall our points too.
No,
anyway,
hold on. People may not care about fantasy, but that's an awesome story. That we asked that question, and you actually remember fantasy week starting both Priest Holmes and Derek Blaylock on your fantasy team. That's awesome.
Lived it, man. It was awesome. That was still back in the days of college, and when fantasy actually meant something, where you're watching the games together, and you're click on CBS Sports Line. Come on, refresh, all that type of stuff. So,
or back in the day when you would wake up the next day, get the paper so you can do the adding up and the scoring of the fantasy football.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
I loved it. I love doing it, man. I couldn't wait.
More baseball for me, rotisserie, but yeah, no doubt.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Watching ESPN and the Monday night stuff and seeing all the stats on the bottom and hoping they would show the stats of one of the players on your team or the team you're playing so you could keep track of that. It was different back then, Josh. It's different back then.
They went for 229 and 8 touchdowns. That's got to be like
Derek Blaylock stole so many goal line touchdowns from Priest. I think he stole 2 of them. I think he had a 2 and a 1-yard touchdown that game. Can't remember, but it was something like that. It was a great game.
Luckily, you started him, man.
All
right,
like
NFL
80
Chiefs
fantasy points from those 2 guys combined. That's ridiculous.
That's amazing. NFL, Chiefs, or Royal Editions?
70.
Let's do Chiefs.
All right, Chiefs for you. These 2 running backs both had 4 touchdowns. Oh, damn it. That's not the right one. All right, so You know what? Let's do this one. Jerick McKinnon with the passing touchdown in the game to Rashee Rice, and also caught that touchdown. He now has a rushing, receiving, and passing touchdown in a Chiefs uniform. He's the 7th player to do that in a Chiefs uniform in their career, have at least one passing, one rushing, and one receiving touchdown in their career. Let's just name one.
Tony Richardson?
T-Rich never did it.
Whoa!
T-Rich never did it. Chris Crid. Not T-Rich.
Hey, this is straight up. Crid's a loser. Christopher, he's a winner.
Off to the great pit of Carcoon with you, Christopher.
Love it.
May the force be with you, Drake.
Yes, and also with you. Thank you, Chris. 913-381-0810. If you're on hold, we'll get to you. We'll take a timeout, come back, get right back into some sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 at Johnny's Tavern is yours. I think you'll be able to enjoy that $25 at Johnny's Tavern coming up this Monday, depending on the Chiefs score, because you get that percentage off. I think there's going to be more. There's going to be a higher percentage off than the 14% this past week, and that's what I'm thinking for Johnny's Tavern. But you can go there anytime and enjoy all of the stuff that goes on at the premier sports bar in Kansas City, 10 locations with Lawrence and Topeka. We'll take a time out. More sports or leisure presented by Johnny's Tavern next. 913-3810810 is the phone number. Playing a little sports or leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. We were talking about Matt Nagy in the previous hour. I didn't see this text. I just saw it as we were at the break looking at the different texts that came in. Said, Jason, how long have you been broadcasting? How many shows have you done? And you still get people's names wrong. Yeah, but that's a feature, not a bug. So,
look, I mean,
that's on my resume.
Yeah, it is. There are some things you're willing to accept depending on the result. Andy Reid, he's not going to run the ball as much as you might want him to, but he's Andy Reid, so it works out. Jason Anderson, he's going to call you the wrong name plenty of times. He's going to get names wrong. But when you have a generational talent, you're willing to overlook some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they'll find one.
And look, I mean, like Dante Hall would say, I mean, the issues with this show, they go all the way to the top, all the way to Dylan. I mean,
it starts all the way at the top. Dylan, what's the matter with the fact that this show is not getting players' names right?
I mean, we're just working on the little things, and we're just going to get them cleaned up. And that's about it. So stop asking, basically. Kind of. What do you want? We're two-time world champions. What do you want?
What do you want?
Come on, man. Everybody's going to be perfect. Thanks, Darren. All right, 913-3810810. Let's go to, I believe, Lindsay next up on Sports Radio 810 for a little sports or leisure. Lindsay, what side do you want to start with?
I want to start with General NFL on the sports side, please.
General NFL, sports side for you. Let's go with, you know what? Peyton, well, I'm not going to ask that one since that was the answer.
Hillis.
Oh, my God. I was about to say Patrick Mahomes. I should have started with Patrick Mahomes, but apparently the answer is Peyton Sean. Sean Peyton. No, that's not the answer. Let me find another one then, since that was going to be my next one that I asked. All right. The answer here is not Peyton Manning, so at least now you know that.
Jeopardy rules.
Patrick Mahomes is now in – well, that would have been great. Patrick Mahomes is now in second place all-time for touchdown passes for a player's first 7 years in the NFL with 217. Not just 7 years as a starter, okay? 7 years in the NFL. He's in second place with 217. Who has the most at 220? And Mahomes is at 95 games. So
I want to say Marino.
Well, you know it's not Peyton Manning, so Marino would be a great guess.
Let's go with it.
Oh, fantastic. Well done. It is Dan Marino, who had 3 more touchdown passes than Patrick Mahomes. But so Mahomes needs 3 touchdown passes, and Marino played 9 more games to get to
you want to hear
220.
something really interesting? I called in before Super Duper Wild Card last weekend, and my question was, through their first however many starts, who has more touchdowns than Brock Purdy or as many, and it was Dan Marino.
Well, at least you got different questions, unlike the Bobby Scipio situation. This is better. It's just,
you know what? You know what, Lindsay? I'm going to make sure I remember that next time you call in, I'm going to give you a question that's either going to be Dan Marino or I'm just going to tell you it's Peyton Manning before.
Just keep feeding me dirty, Dan, and I'm not talking Sorensen, man.
There you go. Or maybe I'll just ask you questions about the Marx brothers. Duper, Clayton, anybody named Mark. Over to Leisure with Josh.
We got the pun name game, the grab bag, some Star Wars, and the IMDb Christmas game.
I want to do IMDb Christmas, if you don't mind, guys.
I would love for you to do the IMDb Christmas. When a man... I just like the plot synopsis of this movie. When a man inadvertently makes Santa fall off his roof on Christmas Eve, he finds himself magically recruited to take his place.
Ooh, give me the Santa Claus, babe.
The Santa Claus is yours.
Nice job.
I would like to go ahead and editorialize. When a man inadvertently makes Santa fall off his roof and die on Christmas Eve.
Thank God he found the business card.
Yeah.
Now, have
Imagine
you
if he
seen
just
that
walked
one,
away.
Josh?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Oh, I don't believe you, man. Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Lindsay, I appreciate you too. 913-3810810. Yeah, you've seen the Santa Claus many times. Christmas Vacation, now all of once.
A lot of this is my parents' fault, like most of my issues.
I was going to say, yeah, and that's everything. Like Animaniacs, they always had the Wheel of Morality that they spun like at the end of the episodes, and one of them was, if at first you don't succeed, blame it on your parents.
Boom.
It all goes back to your parents, and I've loved that one. I've used that one my whole life. Why do you get names wrong? My parents. Because my mom used to always call me Jim, Mike, Mandy, Jason. You know, I had 4 names when I was growing up. The first 3 were the names of my siblings, and then my name. It's weird how that happens.
Got to work through. You got to get the bad answers out of the way sometimes. It's like, oh, you know, it could be Peyton Manning, it could be Dan Marino. I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes. Hey, also,
with Peyton.
Hey, Lindsay, if you're still listening, call back in and Dylan will get your info. I don't know if I hung up on you or if you hung up, but either maybe I just didn't appreciate you not trusting that I had seen the Santa Claus. But call back in, Lindsay. That's maybe my bad. I don't know. Call back. Let Dylan get your info.
I mean, he also said, "Hey guys, thanks, I appreciate it." You know, so maybe he just hung up on his own. He's like, "I don't even want I just want the challenge."
I'm gonna lean towards that one being my fault.
I mean, I typically do that. I was trying to give you an out.
I appreciate it.
Let's bring in Sean here on Sports or Leisure. Sean, what side do you want to start with?
Happy New Year.
To you as well, sir.
All right. Let's do Chiefs.
All right, Chiefs for you. Let's see that question. Well, there's a question out there already. We also have a couple of fresh ones.
Yeah, I have a couple ideas, but I don't want to guess and get wrong on that question, so I'll do a fresh one.
All good. Along with, Jerick McKinnon, so this kind of goes back to that question a little bit, but he's got 6 receiving touchdowns away from tying the Chiefs' record for most receiving touchdowns by a running back. Most receiving touchdowns by a running back in Chiefs history. He is 6 receiving touchdowns away. What player holds the record for the most receiving touchdowns for a running back? Just celebrated a birthday, yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
I think?
Yep.
We should have known he was a gift from God.
A birthday yesterday?
Of course he's around Christmas. I mean, yeah.
Yesterday, huh?
20 receiving touchdowns in his career as a running back. 20 of them. I can't believe McKinnon's got 14.
That's crazy. There have also been some hilarious ones this year, like Mostert and everything.
Yeah, true. I mean, Mostert, 21 touchdowns. Good God, man.
First off top, I'm thinking maybe Priest or Jamal Charles. Probably. Now, Priest had more rushing. I think I'm gonna go with Jamal Charles.
Jamal Charles is correct. You'd be surprised at how few Priest Holmes had in receiving touchdowns, because I was. But yeah, Jamal Charles, 20 receiving touchdowns. I think 19 of those against the Raiders, but 20 receiving touchdowns. McKinnon has 14, and I don't think he's going to get there, being on IR and probably his last year with the Chiefs anyway. On to leisure with Josh.
What category would you like?
Let's do the Christmas movies.
Let's do it. An angel is sent from heaven to help a desperately frustrated businessman by showing him what life would have been like if he'd never existed.
Oh, that's what is the name of that movie?
You want the moon, Mary?
It has to be.
Lash on the moon. She doesn't want the moon, you jackass.
What year?
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Black and white.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's
classic.
Yeah.
We'll say classic.
Merry
I do have
Christmas,
the year, but I'm not.
Merry Christmas.
You could go check it out from the library as long as she hasn't closed it down.
Merry Christmas.
I've seen this movie 150 times.
I've seen it a ton. I love watching it. It's a good one.
It's not. I don't think it's called. It's Ebenezer Scrooge, but I don't think it's called that.
My mom, if she's listening to this show right now, I'm going to get some all caps text messages.
Really?
Yeah. This is her favorite.
Oh.
This is why
I thought maybe she'd be disappointed in you. This is more about Sean.
No, this is about Sean. This is that right now. I think my mom has lost faith in Sean if she's listening.
I see. Sean, you got a guess, though, a dart?
Oh,
no.
A frustrated businessman by showing him what life would have been like if he had never existed.
A Christmas Carol, is that right?
It is not a Christmas Carol. Sean, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-810. Oh, boy, that's...
that one's out there.
That one's out there.
That one's out there.
Miami running back just See, this is the worst is in bowl games, man.
Did you say a
The Miami-
business? Sorry, Jason. Did you say a
Sorry.
businessman?
That is the official. That is the
Really?
That
I
is the
think I know it,
term in
too.
IMDb. But yeah,
Was he close? Was the caller close? Are we
No.
allowed to
No.
ask?
Not
No,
really.
he was not.
No.
All right. Then I don't know it.
Jason and I gave out a lot of hints. If you know
Yeah.
this movie, you,
Merry Christmas. You want the moan? Yeah, that's right, Mary.
Mary.
That's all right.
Mary.
Give you the moan. Mary. Let's go to
Why do we have to have all these
next up
kids?
is Michael. Michael next up on Sports Radio 810. Michael, Sports or Leisure?
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good.
What side do you want to start with, Sports or Leisure, bud?
Let's go sports.
All right, we got Chiefs, we got NFL, we have Royal Editions.
Let's go Chiefs.
All right, Chiefs, we've got one question already out there, and we have a fresh one.
and if you could turn your radio down, it'd be great.
I
Let's
want
go
to turn it up,
to a fresh one.
All right. Chris Jones has moved into third place all time in sack yards. Sack yards. Name either he's tied for third place. Derek Thomas is number one. Name either the person in second place or who he is tied with in sack yards.
For the Chiefs, right?
For the Chiefs, yes. Thank you for that.
For the Chiefs. This guy be same era as Derek Thomas, possibly.
I mean, possibly, yeah.
I'm gonna say Neil Smith.
Neil Smith is who he's tied with. Well done. Neil Smith is who he's tied with. Number 2 all-time behind Derek Thomas, and in front of Chris Jones is Tamba Hali. So Derek Thomas had 699 sack yards lost, 700 yards on Derek Thomas sacks. Tamba Hali, 591. Neil Smith and Chris Jones at 506. So Chris Jones has taken away 506 yards of offense in his sacks in his Chiefs career. It's pretty good.
Mostly from the interior. That's amazing.
I mean, right? That's exactly right. The other 3 guys are exterior rushers. And even if you go down the list, Justin Houston's behind Neil Smith and Chris Jones. So you got defensive end, defensive end, defensive end, defensive end, and defensive tackle. Leisure with Josh.
You know what category?
Let's go
Or we can also
the Christmas one.
Do you want the one that we just did with the last caller, or do you want a new one?
New one.
New York City police officer tries to save his estranged wife and several others taken hostage by terrorists during a Christmas party in L.A.
Die Hard.
There we go.
You're darn right. You're darn right.
There we go.
Yep, that Christmas movie, Die Hard. Well done, sir. Well done, Michael. We will put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, sir. $25 heading your way from Johnny's Tavern, which, by the way, the Kelseys are really wrong. They talked about how Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. So it's a movie that takes place around Christmas, but it's not a Christmas movie. I'm like, all right, whatever. I will fight you guys. I won't do that. I will not. I will not
Don't
do that.
fight them, please.
I will not do that. But I will certainly disagree. We will. You know what? You know what? You know what? Look at me. Look at my face. I will agree to disagree. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to spike my helmet furiously if you disagree with me anymore.
If you keep this up, I am going to agree to disagree. Let's go to Matt next up on Sports Radio 810, a little sports or leisure. Matt, what side do you want to start with?
Let's go with pun name game.
Whoa! Let's go to the pun name game. Hold on, I'm scrolling. Damn it. I just read the one that I wrote last week.
I'll leave that Christmas gimme out there for someone else.
I appreciate it. I'm sure someone else does too.
That's wonderful of you.
Ow! This hardware enthusiast was all about making houses better before he found his true passion, writing smash hit songs, touring the world, and dating Travis Kelce.
But Tim the Tool Man Taylor Swift.
Nice job.
From downtown!
Nice job, Matt. On to the sports side, sir. NFL, Chiefs, and Royal Editions.
Let's stick with Chiefs.
All right, Chiefs for you. There's a question out there. Do you want that one or a fresh one?
I did not hear that one, so I guess I'll do a fresh one.
Well, the fresh one is a little more difficult than the other one. I'll just tell you
Okay,
that much.
I guess I'll try it. I didn't hear it, but I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Jerick McKinnon now has a rushing, receiving, and passing touchdown in a Chiefs uniform. He's the 7th player to do that in a Chiefs uniform. Name any of the other 6 players. T. Rich was guessed earlier. Tony Richardson is not one of them. Any of the players that have a rushing, receiving, and throwing touchdown in a Chiefs uniform besides Jerick McKinnon. I will tell you there are 4 running backs here, and there's a quarterback on the list. All 4 running backs retired, 2 of them well retired. One has a Super Bowl ring. Another has a Super Bowl ring with a different team. And another one had a rap song that came out and then also might have developed some issues with the CTE. We think. I don't know. Maybe not.
And these are all
Chiefs players, yep. Uh-huh. And the quarterback's a fun one, just to come on. That guy got 3? Interesting. But yeah. T. Rich was guessed.
And you said there's no tight ends on the list. Is that correct?
No. No tight ends.
Man, I just realized I would have gotten this wrong because I forgot that one of them ended up being ruled at rushing.
Really?
Yeah. I can just say which one it is, but I'll let...
Yeah, no, say which one it is.
I was thinking about Dontari Poe, but that one horizontal was ruled a lateral, right?
Mm-hmm.
He really deserves to be the answer to this question.
Dontari Poe that would be amazing if he had 3 touchdowns and he was also one of the people in this category. But that's not right.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, no.
2 rushing and 1 passing ultimately, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Want to throw a dart?
Sorry, you said 4 running backs and 1 QB, right?
Quarterback. Yep, 1 quarterback.
I think I know the quarterback.
Really?
I think I just remembered the
Yeah. Yep, he was a Chanticleer at one point in his life, the quarterback was.
Just throw a dart and say Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh, it was not Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Damn it. Hey, Matt, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Well done on the pun name game. We'll take a timeout. We will come back. Well, let's go ahead and give that answer out since we won't have time to play anymore. The players to do that, Marcus Allen, Larry Johnson, Curtis McClinton, Mike Garrett, and who's the quarterback, Josh?
Did Matt Castle do it?
No, Tyler Thigpen.
Oh, Tyler Thigpen!
Coastal Carolina.
Yes!
Tyler Thigpen also did that.
That rules.
Yes.
Get Thiggy with it.
Well done. We will take a timeout and come back and give you any leisure questions that are out there. The really tough one that's sitting out there right now, and wrap up the show here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, that wraps us up here on this Thursday edition. Josh, any questions out there you didn't get answers to?
No, Jason, they were all gotten because it's a wonderful life, and I'm just happy to be here sharing it with everybody.
It absolutely is a wonderful life. Well done. Well done. Sports or Leisure, premier sports bar in Kansas City, Lawrence and Topeka. Lawrence today, Todd Lebo and Dylan will be out there, an hour from now. Dylan, you better get on the road, buddy.
He's hustling.
An hour from now, they will be there from 3 to 5.
Might explain the Chris Crid situation.
I can help you out with the Pam Pan discussion here. All right, we are done here on this Thursday. K-State, NC State coming up at 4:45 right here on Sports Radio 810.
Hey, are you picking the Chiefs?
Yes, I'll pick the Chiefs. I'll take the Chiefs 24-17. I'll talk to you guys Tuesday. I'll talk to you next year.